And
Commissioner Loudon is still too late. He's not in. Hopefully he gets better soon. Approval of the agenda.
I have one change to the agenda. I would like to add under new business an item L, and that would be to accommodate the Board of Health appointment of Ms. Sherry Backrack.
Make motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, consideration of minutes. Regular meeting minutes, December 5th, 2017.
And 85.5 seasonal road closure. On the motion under number 1, should read weather permitting from the day after Labor Day. We just started Memorial Day weekend. So we just need to add the date after Labor Day.
Unspelled day.
Yeah.
That's probably
That's all I have.
make a motion to amend.
Second?
Commissioner Walter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes. Regular meeting minutes of December 19th, 2017.
That was a long one. I have no recommendation for change. I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Walter, I'm sorry, Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Walter?
Yes.
Reading of correspondence, Commissioner Committee reports. Commissioner Moulton?
There's only a couple things that I have. We had a fire in my district up at Taurus. It consumed about 65 acres of river bottom, one thing, snowball fire, and everybody involved in helping keep that contained to the river bottom. I also want to make it known that I might miss one or two. We're going to meetings. We're going to try to have meetings via maybe phone conference or Skype. I'll undergo a surgical procedure on my ankle a week from today. But I will keep doing business as usual and holding my end of the deal on myself. I just want to, that's all I got to say. I did not attend any board meetings this week.
Maybe we can build a ramp over here.
Right?
I have OP report, Otero Partners Incorporated. We still have one loan that is pending. There's waiting on paperwork from the applicant, and there is another application that has been submitted for review. We also will be appointing later today review committee members from Los Angeles County. So, that's all I've got. Public comment.
Apologize for the confusion. I know we're not on the agenda. We wanted to take just a few minutes and kind of give you all an update about our hospital. In your packet, I've got just a couple slides kind of detailing the scope of the project and also some of the architecture drawings as they stand today. Just an overview of the project. The scope hasn't changed since we were here 6 months ago, or it may have even been a year year ago. We're still planning a multi-phase expansion and renovation of the hospital that touches about 43,000 square feet of the facility. Some of our project partners, we're working with an architecture firm called Curie International. Mark Johnson and Steve Cook are the primaries on our project. Working with Phipps as our construction manager, SSR, Smith, Seckman, Reed as our engineers. We also have an owner's rep primarily because it's required by the USDA, a company called Adams Group. And then there's a bank called Doherty Mortgage that's helping us facilitate all the USDA financing process. So our project is in three phases, like it was when we were here several months ago. The first phase is infrastructure improvements. You remember we have a DOLA grant that helps us fund that, but it's fairly complex because we're replacing all the infrastructure of our hospital, HVAC, electrical, mechanical systems, all while trying to keep the hospital running and also upsizing a lot of that equipment to service the new construction portion of the project. Phase 2 is what we have a board of right here. And I probably should have started with another slide just to kind of get our bearings. So this is the current front outside wall of the hospital. So we're looking at the floor plan of PCUs back here. This is currently an ancillary wing. We have offices and some imaging modalities scattered around. The first phase of this project is to knock this wing down, build a new imaging center, new emergency department with covered awning, of course, and then a new patient care unit above that to kick off this project. Here's a closer view of this. We consolidate all of our imaging modalities just to get our bearings. CT is right here. The current emergency department is just off to the left. But we consolidate all of our imaging that's scattered throughout the hospital in this imaging center. Right adjacent to that is the new emergency department. Mandy, how many treatment spaces do we have? 11?
There's 9.
So we have 9 patient treatment areas, a couple observation rooms, so we're not having to move under the new PCU. So we spend a lot of time working with physicians as our ER group as we design this space. So that's the first floor. Second floor above that is a new 14-bed all-private room patient care unit. A layout fairly similar to what we have now. We've done some interesting architecture in the rooms. They're sort of cantilevered, so the patient is always oriented toward the windows to try to open up the room a little bit and improve the views. Not a lot to speak of, but the rooms are about 50% bigger. There's an infusion space that we may eventually partner with Rocky Mountain or somebody else to try to begin offering some limited chemo services at the hospital so patients aren't having to constantly travel up north to Pueblo for those services. Some of the renderings of what the outside of the hospital is going to look like. If you're standing at Dr. Doden's office looking west, you can see the ambulance drive through under PCU from the east side of the building. Kind of a view of what the front of the building might look like. New emergency department on the first floor, new patient care unit above, and then phase 3 of the project is where we relocate some of our services that are currently housed over the clinic. PT, OT, and ST here to the front of the hospital. We're actually proposing to expand the front of the hospital. This is the existing current outside wall of the hospital. The front moves out to almost where the grass is in that current the circular drive. So we take in about 5,000 square feet of space that is just underutilized right now. So have a new open, lots of natural light in that space, relocate cardiopulmonary and cardiac rehab here, which has some benefit to us at the clinic, frees up that big suite that we have occupying those services now. Some rework at the front of the building, new vestibule, obviously with a canopy, waiting area, new gift shop, lobby, volunteer area. Registration doesn't change real significantly, although it will be new. Have some plans for boardroom, big public rest facilities, and we haven't designed the chapel yet, but we're going to take some of the existing gift shop, design a new chapel, and we're going to use some of the stained glass from the original hospital in that chapel. Not sure how many of those pieces we'll be able to use. And then one last view of what the whole campus might look like, and our architects tell us that the the proportions and perspective of this drawing is not right, but once we finish this work, this is kind of what the campus might look like. Health department remains largely untouched with the exception of maybe obscuring some of the windows that are currently along the east side of the building. But, so that's what we're planning for the campus appearance to look like after this project is complete. We wanted to just update you all about that.
I definitely like the emergency room setup. It's a lot better than what is currently there.
And it also has some benefit to it. So right now, our hospital is full. We don't have any space that we could grow if we wanted to. So once this is complete, all of PCU is empty, all of the existing emergency department is empty, all of radiology is empty, so we've got some space to work with in the facility as we move forward and expand. Maybe we do a similar project in PCU, at PCU in the future and create a more ambulatory surgery environment for the OR. But we've got our hands full with this project here over the next few years. Just a reminder about the timelines. And I have asterisks by our timelines just because all of this depends on USDA processes and funding. But phase one, we're planning to knock this wing down sometime this summer, hopefully early summer, maybe even be late summer that this wing comes down. They start to put up all the steel for our expansion project. So they're telling us this project takes about 18 months to complete. Phase three after this will be the whole front of the hospital project, probably 9 months or a year. So it's going to be late 2020 or early 2021 when we occupy all of this space, although we plan to occupy this in late 2019.
So just basically waiting on funding to be secured?
Yeah, so you all are familiar with how the USDA financing goes and what a challenge it can be to.
I have one question for you. As you know, I'm on the board of COG.
Right.
And we had a discrepancy recently regarding the removal of hospice out of the COG building, which hasn't been purchased by the hospital as of yet.
Right.
And remodel renovation has started. What was the reason behind that, or how did that come about?
Well, so I don't know if that was our bad or not. So we assumed that everybody understood what the plan was. The COG board had an offer letter that we feel was a very generous offer for us to buy that building. We understood that had been approved, and we thought everybody understood what the plan was. So we're just sort of moving forward.
Did the understanding come from Mr. Bolden to you directly? Because the board hadn't met yet. That's what I'm saying.
Right, and I think what was communicated to us, and our team can correct me if I'm wrong, but the offer of $950,000 to buy that building was sort of tentatively approved. And we thought we had done a good job communicating with Mr. Bolden what our plans were and kind of what timelines were, and so we didn't think that.
The question, the reason I'm asking is sort of clarification on my part, so when I go into this next board meeting.
Right, so, I mean, we did understand that the 950 was approved, right?
Yes. Yeah, we just needed to get a firm offer. As far as hospice, we had communicated with Mr. Bolden about us assuming the hospice lease. Hospice was then supposed to communicate that to Mr. Bolden, which apparently sounds like they had not. But we had assured Mr. Bolden that if hospice, because they wanted to get a cheaper space, and they had only redid their lease because they couldn't find one. So we were able to help them find a space, Dr. McFarland's old office. So when they moved out, we told Mr. Bolden that we would assume their lease so that there was no, and then at some point we would then buy a building. So whatever the timeline was.
Okay, so there's miscommunication. Has the renovation started back up?
No, I don't know what that's going to cost us, but we've stopped.
Thank you. I'm excited for the new hospital. It's going to be great for the community. It's been a long time coming. Thank you for your efforts.
You indicated, John, that the phase one was DOLA, right?
Right.
And it'll run around 18 months. I
Oh,
know.
I'm sorry. So the phase one is DOLA for our project purposes, and then, so we're calling this the most significant part of the construction project, phase two. That'll start summer, late summer, and take about 18 months.
I think we have a minor housekeeping matter, and it's not to disparage anything, because I think this is a fabulous thing that you're doing, but we have required requirements as the pass-through agency for DOLA grant to do quarterly reports.
Right.
We've been having some difficulty getting that information timely, and I believe, do we have fourth quarter yet?
No, no. And last I heard was that you wanted to revise the engineering portion of the funding, and I never heard anything from that. Because you're
Okay.
going to spend more on engineering, and you didn't have enough budget to do that, and I never heard back on that.
Right, okay.
And so I haven't even gotten anything for the fourth quarter yet, or anything if you've spent anything yet.
Okay. David, is there anything you can speak to?
No, I thought we'd already sent over the fourth quarter report. We haven't given a revised budget just because that continues to be in.
Because I think that needs to be approved by DOLA. So that's what I was
Right.
waiting for, because we can write a letter requesting to revise the budget, but I haven't heard anything back from you guys.
We don't have any final numbers yet to give to DOLA as far as revising the budget. I will check with our accounting as far as why you haven't received the fourth quarter report for expenditure, so.
I think perhaps what we could do is we could, and we'll start doing this, is when we get the letters from, or the emails from DOLA saying, hey, you have to do this.
Right.
And even if you have nothing to report, we have to report that there's nothing to report.
Right.
So when we get those, and maybe in advance of, we can simply forward them to who wants them.
I usually send them to Lonnie and to David.
Yeah.
I usually do two.
Okay. Okay, good.
Okay, and we'll figure out why you don't have our fourth quarter report yet.
Anything else?
I just want to thank you guys for coming today, and I'm excited about the project. It's good to have forward-thinking people. We cannot grow a community without healthcare, and I'm really excited about this project. And it's good to have forward-thinking people in our community.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
I concur. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very impressive.
County Attorney report. Administration report. County Administrator report.
There have been a number of items that we've been dealing with, and so I'd like to go through them in order. We had to give to our employees, as I'm sure there's so many other employers have to do, the fact that we had no work forms. And the new tax act that has been filed is got the IRS 98 law. And so we are waiting the W-4 forms, and we've been told that you could go to the website, the IRS website, to determine what your calculation for withholding would be. I went ahead and I will be making that available to Kim and to Christie, that it essentially looks like this, and it is a significant change to the withholding tables. So what we've informed our supervisors and admin is that there will likely, people will likely to their wages. The requirement for when this has to occur in using these tables is for the first payroll in February. So we're going to have a lot of work, and we'll be working with Christie and with payroll to make sure that we get everything right. And I just want to bring that to your attention. And if there's any questions, I would like all of our staff to contact us. One other thing is that with the fact that payroll is being independently monitored and operated at DHS and at, then I will also be getting with them to ensure that we are in full compliance with the tax rules. So we were questioned earlier about Schindler, and we received a bill for $3,000 that told us that we were late payment, which of course is what we continue to waive at Schindler. But what I understand that we require now is the City of Trinidad inspector to provide us the certificate of operation for the elevator. And I received paperwork that I'm compiling from DHS, so we have the certificate of occupancy. there's some question about whether the software that was needing to be updated for the elevator itself has been in. So I will be contacting Schindler on that. The other thing is that we have been asked about complying with an agreement or complying with what had been stated before about getting a committee together to discuss any issue of transition plan or what was going on. And I spoke with Arlene Lopez at DHS and indicated to her that it is not too soon to start planning with their respective departments when we are going to actually move. And also that it's not too soon that, like little personal belongings, things like that. But she said that they have been working at it, they're eager, but we are very, very close to making that happen. And we will be bringing it to the board with a plan about her recommendation. And simultaneously, I'm hoping that I will work with Schindler to finish this last little piece. So that's the move. There's another item that came up, and it was for an invite to the annual Sunflower Valley Pipeline Association and at the community center. And they want a representative, but I believe that this is
Community center here in Trinidad or in Home?
in Honey. I believe that this is where they speak of that, we had talked about that farm of, what we call the farm to grazing area by the airport. Well, there's some water shares, and I believe that these are it. And if you have no objection, I was planning to go to that meeting unless either of you would want to go. It's on February 3rd. And it's at 10 o'clock. That might be something.
Without having Commissioner Loudon here to advise us, I don't know if you know, Christie, in the past, if we've had a board member appointed to attend that. I mean, we might want to look into it as well, but that'd be fine by me as administrator. But also try to investigate and see if we have somebody on the board, on that board.
Given the questions that had come up previously with regard to our paying membership dues, I think that we probably have not been attending. But we will verify that, and then I can bring that, there's plenty of time to bring it back to the next meeting.
Great.
Okay. We also have been notified, the union would like to open renegotiations, and that will be happening sometime in February. We have happily gone forward and brought forward a building inspector that is on it for 40 hours a week. And so people who had been given a lot of assignments during the layoffs and the furloughs and the 30-hour work week, we're now starting to unbundle that. And we're working in groups, subcommittee groups, so that determining who is, say, for example, providing the clerical support for the building inspector, what parts of what Bob used to do is planning, not just weeds, land use, and all of that permitting to go forward. There's one other last item that I would like to discuss, and that's the use tax.
I have a question on the
Okay.
building inspector.
Okay.
I know we're just first 2 weeks into the year, but what other duties do you plan to put on that office other than just building permits and inspections? Is there anything to do with the marijuana industry, which was done before by that office?
Well, I believe that we had discussed that, and it's going to be very difficult, but I think as a first step, what we will be helping him out to do is ask for the state for a list of folks that have marijuana permits for medical marijuana. And if no such permits exist, then we have the ability to go in and close them down. And so we don't want him to just go checking. We want to make certain that we have those medical marijuana permits via the state, and if they don't have them, then they do not belong here in Los Alamos County at all.
And now with the sheriff's department being funded for
Yes.
furthermore, that you can assist in that.
Yes, indeed. So So there's a lot to be done. Now, back to the use tax. We had notified that there's an indication that we may have been low on our calculation of what we might receive from sales tax and use tax. We are still trying to get the firm numbers for 2016 so that we could go ahead and determine what that is. And as a result of that, one of the other items was with use tax being difficult to administer, determine, and so on. I have indicated to the building inspector that I would like to ask the commission if we could have at least 6 months before we start imposing the use tax, because of the uncertainty of how much and the possibility of it being along with the sales tax, the noticing of how much use tax that we might be getting, and then possibly have to refund if that were the case. So that 6 months, I think, will go fly by at the end of January. And we have yet to meet with Pueblo, but while we anticipated these items, the first question was, are we going to be able to successfully pass the ballot measure, which of course we did. And now we, in administration, are dealing with all of the associated responses to what we need to do to get all of our policies and items put down and set forth that is clear and fair.
So you think we're going to have an overage of use tax other than what's allowed? Because
Well, it goes hand in glove with what we had issued a press release that
the sales tax.
on the sales tax. I don't know that if that press release ever got to the right people, or perhaps they thought it wasn't big enough news, because the bigger news was that we got the ballot issue that just had happened. Well, shortly after, as we began looking at things, while we had got our estimates from the city, because we thought, they've been doing the tax, and it was, again, very rapid, everything that we were doing by way of putting those resolutions in. We have since discovered that we may be collecting more sales tax than we had in the resolution. If that is the case, what happens is that if it's, just more, then we're going to have to go back to the electorate and ask that they allow us to keep however much more that we collected. Now, so you can understand that we really want to have a good base number by which we identify what that difference is going to be, because if not, whatever we stick in that resolution is kind of what we're held to on the first year of the collection. This is for only the first year of the collection, and that's what's so important. If we fail to do it in the first year, it will just run around. But we want to be, as you said, as transparent and compliant as we can possibly be. What our press release indicated was, well, we're very grateful to the voters, and that it may be that we will be getting more. We don't know how much more. We have to calculate it, but that we would keep all of the electorate informed. So I think that we said that was the situation, but it doesn't sound as big as us having passed the sales tax, so maybe that's why I didn't get in there. But we will have to consider that and see about informing them of where we are periodically. And so...
Now, as I understand it, if the overages, which is a good problem to have, but we still have to ask the taxpayers to keep it in the upcoming election, will be returned if there's excess back to the retailer, which would be...
I believe that changed in light of the more recent filing by Douglas Bruce. He filed on December 26, 2017. Yes, was higher than what they had on their resolution, and they did not go back to the electorate.
They kept the money, the county.
And they just kept on going. So he filed and is asking them to pay back all of the money, which comes almost to $6 million, but after, with the time of the passage. But what he had suggested in that filing was that rather than give it back to the retailers, because it's not really the retailers, it was the people, that a better approach might be, there's one of two things. One would be to put it back through the mill levy, and the other one might be to put it back through taxpayers' returns. So you can see how complex that is. We do not want to go anywhere near there. We simply want to do the right thing and identify, number one, what it is, what it may be, and then take the necessary steps with all of the state and whomever, and most of all to our electorate, to let people know what's going on.
But that would be up to the court to decide.
In this particular matter, with the case that's been filed, it was so recently filed that I imagine they would have some give and take about whether they think that's the appropriate way. I believe that Christie had already checked with the Department of Revenue, and they had indicated that this has not happened before, so they had indicated that it would likely go through the tax return. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's why I think once we start to see how much access we have to actually come up with a percentage.
Well,
And that
and
percentage
that's
goes back to every voter, or every person.
The retailer tax return or individual tax return?
I think individual. So that's why I'm saying it's not just the retailers, it would be the whole entire community that paid sales tax.
Let's keep in mind the 1 cent sales tax was just a Band-Aid, just to get us back in 40 hours. So any excess, if we can get the voters to approve it, would be a wonderful gift to help reserve funds and contingency funds and possible future raises for those men and women that haven't had raises in our county in many years, including the sheriff's departments.
And also, doubly important is to indicate that that is only for the very first year of collection. Thereafter, we make this whatever refund, whatever it is, and we'll keep it. And then we move forward and we're fine.
Yeah. Because after entertainment report, we boost, if we keep any additional funds.
And let's see here, I believe that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, wait, one last thing. I've been provided with the abstract of assessment and tax levies, and I have copies for you each. We are reserving maps, Commissioner Loudon's, for when you rise.
Road Bridge Supervisor. Mr. Dorkin.
Good morning, Commissioners. We continue to operate out in McKinn, Pony, and Trinidad areas. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, that was short and sweet. That was short and sweet. We're going to skip number 7 and continue on our business for until 10 o'clock. Do you have any issues with that? Number 8, new business, consideration of airport layout.
What we provided is the letter asking for our attention to this matter that we'd like it ASAP. It's from SEH Transmittal, and it is, while it looks very, very small, we had an inability to copy it, but Selena laid it on the floor and took this beautiful picture. And Commissioner Mulder is always asking how we do these things, but she took a picture with her phone. And so we decided that we need a young person always with us to do whatever it takes to get you the information. But you'll notice, once you see it downstairs, there are 6 copies, and they need to be signed so that we could get it back. Then they themselves at the state will reduce them as approved and send them back to us. But it is the airport layout, and it talks about, you can't see it here, but it does identify areas of future plans for the airport. Indeed, today Christie is going to meet someone from the Brownfields organization to be looking at areas in which they can assist us with the airport. They'll be identifying area where underground tanks and so on, and see in what manner they can assist us in, environmentally, and not only to assist with the Brownfields grant money, but also to assist with getting identified areas and other places that we could seek out grants for the making this plan come to fruition.
Can you explain to the media a little better what the Brownfields?
Yes,
program is?
Brownfields is a grant that is usually used by city and local governments to attend to areas of blight within a community that need some environmental review, primarily environmental safety and so on. And some years ago, the city of the town of Aguilar, the Trinidad City, and Los Angeles County entered into an agreement wherein they would apply for this grant, and each one would provide a series of projects to be looked at. One of the projects that the county had identified was the airport. And Aguilar, I'm to be getting with Tyra to find out hers, because we're coming up against a deadline about spending this money. And the city has gone forward and worked on a number of items. They can't say there, I'm not certain what project was. Bless you. But, so this Brownfield grant is available. We've also identified that we have a number of projects that we would like to use. So that's where Chrissy will be meeting that fellow today to see how he can assist. This part of the SEH transmittal is part of our master plan for the airport. As you know, we had the big long runway. Well, this one, if you see the picture, it's proposing another cross runway. And there are items in there that identify future, and that is consistent with what our the master plan is. So this is a necessary step that needs to be provided to the FAA.
Was there presented to you?
What they told us.
Three commissioners here. I'd like to, with you having a meeting this afternoon, I'd like to maybe possibly let this.
I don't think it needs to be approved, I think it's just
No,
information.
all it
isn't
is a request to sign.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, and could you sign it as the
Sharon Pro Tem.
Yes.
And the reason why is because the FAA actually needs to approve our master plan, because we still have funding out there that we have been reimbursed because SH has to finalize everything. Once they finalize it, then we can receive and we can close out this grant.
I can sign for it.
Okay.
However, without Mr. Loudon here to concur with us, it could cause problems if not all three we had the same issue about a month ago. Having a Chairman Pro Tem sign without all three have been discussed in open session. So I don't want to overstep the boundaries of Chairman Pro Tem, but walk cautiously with this. We can still do this after he is informed of that with his illness, depending on the length of it.
Certainly, and if I may, then what we can do is perhaps break it back to a separate meeting following the DHS meeting next week.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll do. So we'll table that.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second. Consideration of the annual Branson gravel pit report, map and fee.
Commissioners, before you should be our Colorado Division of Reclamation annual report and map for the Branson pit. An associated fee is $791. It's for a type 112 permit, so I ask the board to approve it. is typical of what on all of our gravel pits.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
Some of them are 110s, this is a 10 acre, less than 10 acres, and 112
And
or
you
10
just,
acres.
I don't know if you've had any of these yet, but this was something that was just an annual
Yeah.
renewal form.
Yeah. Very familiar with them. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second? I believe that's it for you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcher?
Yes. Thanks, Joe.
C, consideration of Los Angeles County Public Trustee Quarterly Report.
This is the treasurer's report, and she's just identifying for you as public trustee those items of foreclosures and releases. And it is also a quarterly thing, and so we would ask that you would approve it.
And again, Dean, this is just some procedural work from the Treasurer's Office.
Quarterly.
However, you did some issues with this.
I don't have any issues with it. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcher?
Yes.
D, consideration of a resolution establishing posting locations for meetings notices of the County Board and Board of Human Services for 2018.
Okay, as a resolution, excuse me, I will read that. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, establishing the posting location of meeting notices for the Board of County Commissioners meetings and the Board of Human Services meetings for calendar year 2018. Resolution number 18-008, whereas the Board of County Commissioners and when seated as the Board of Human Services for Los Angeles County in conformance with CRS 24-6-402, the Colorado Open Meetings Act is required to conduct county business at meetings open to the public and to provide the public with timely notice of its meetings dates, times, and locations. And whereas it is the duty of the Board of County Commissioners to provide timely public notice of the date, time, location, and subject matter of issues to be considered by the board when meeting to consider action on any policy, position, resolution, rule, or regulation, or to take formal action on any matter that may come before the Board of County Commissioners or in its capacity as the Board of Human Services. And whereas the Colorado Open Meeting Act provides for public bodies to satisfy compliance with the requirements of the Act by the timely posting of notices of such public meetings in a designated visible public place with a minimum of 24 hours advance notice when practical of the date, time, location, and subject matter of issues to be considered by the Board of County Commissioners. Now, therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado. 1. The Board of County Commissioners hereby designate the following locations as posting places for notices of meetings of the Board of County Commissioners and the Board of Human Services for 2018, including, when practical, a specific agenda identifying the subject of all matters to be considered by the Board during such public meetings. A bulletin board placed at the entrance of the west doors to the Los Angeles County Courthouse, fronting Maple Street, Trinidad, Colorado. B, a bulletin board placed at the entrance of the Commissioners' Chambers located in room 201 of the Los Angeles County Courthouse, located to this date, 16th day of January, by order of the Board.
Not good?
Yep.
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcher?
Yes.
E, consideration of resolution designating Dixon Waller and Company as the fiscal auditor for 2018.
A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, designating Dixon Waller and Company as the fiscal auditor for Los Angeles County for 2018. Resolution number 18-009. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners to have prepared annually a fiscal audit of all financial statements of the county
for each fiscal year reflecting the financial condition of the county in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and auditing standards. And whereas such fiscal audit is required to be prepared by a certified public accountant licensed by the state of Colorado, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, that the Board of County Commissioners hereby designate the firm of Dixon Waller and Company Incorporated as the fiscal auditor for Los Angeles County for fiscal year 2018. Upon motion made and seconded and affirmative vote, this resolution adopted the 16th day of January 2018 by order of Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado.
I think they've always done a good job, seems like, and
You okay with that, Kristen?
really good recommendations to the board. You all right with that?
Of course.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiltshire.
Yes.
Commissioners, at 10 o'clock, we have a public hearing, and I believe that we may have some set up housekeeping things if you want to break slightly before the next one.
Well, it's not a hearing, it's just a public comment, or a presentation, so we don't have to have any swearing in or
Okay.
anything such as that, but yeah, we can take a 5-minute recess while they set up if you like, and we can go ahead and get started with the presentation. So I think for a back break. Yeah.
That.
Tom, for this presentation, they're going to do a slide. So would it be best if we
Do that, what's that?
they're going to have a presentation on this projector?
Right.
And so where would you suggest?
Well, we have 180, almost, this is, we're live right now. So
Okay.
where would you like for it to be? Over here?
And he'll need a plug. So he's
I think, yeah. Oh, we can do it. If that reaches, that's fine.
okay, Tom, you want to show them where it is? And
Yeah, Steve's coming back with the.
This is the shot we're live right now on the internet, on YouTube.
Okay.
So that's the camera and the audio right there.
Okay, great.
So it's not going to show clearly the picture, but that's actually a pretty good shot from there. So this is the shot you're live right now on YouTube.
Okay,
So-
should we move the screen just up a little?
That won't hurt.
Okay. I need to set up.
yes, we have like.
Are you? This is Pat Meyer. Yes.
I'm Pat.
Yes, nice to see you.
Okay, and I will be right back. We have another.
I'm just right over here, so if you want to see the shot.
Okay. Steve, you want me to move this just a little bit?
Let's get the projector plugged in first. What's up, Tom? Looking pretty decorated, bud. Hey, man.
Ever been to yoga class? It's like a
Dog. You're like getting there.
It's getting there. Whoa.
I just bought my papers.
need to dim the lights or anything?
Do you want the lights off?
We will, yes.
Yeah, it would help.
Did you get things up on radio? Can we put something else into the present?
Nice to meet you. You want to tell me when? Just a little bit. Is that,
That's,
is that going to be okay?
yeah, it's a good shot right there. So it shows up pretty clear over there.
Yeah.
I am, thank you for your indulgences. Great, today, folks, we have a presentation by Mr. Stephen Oaks regarding opiate epidemic. Go ahead, sir.
Well, thank you. I want to thank the commissioners and all who are here today to allow Mr. Micah, who's a co-counsel with me on this matter, to present what we think is a very important issue. We live in Colorado Springs, El Paso County. El Paso County is like Los Angeles, as you'll see. Has been extremely adversely impacted by the flood of opioids going into our state, specifically into the San Luis Valley as well as to El Paso County. Without further ado, with time hopefully for questions afterwards, I'm going to go through about a 20-minute, 40-slide PowerPoint that I think will give you an overview, if you will, of what we feel is going on. First of all, Pat, could you focus that just a bit? The ring around the lens in front. Just make sure it's in front, all the way front. And the ring, just the ring, just there you go. Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much.
Is that from?
Thank you. The Oaks Law Firm comprises myself, my son Jason, who's in Jackson, Wyoming, and of course my name is Steve Oaks. I'm in Colorado Springs. Pat Micah is with Micah Associates in Colorado Springs as well. The general overview of the issue. Prescription painkillers, what are they? Well, we've all heard of them: Oxycontin, hydrocodone, Percocet, oxycodone. Opiates, what's the truth? The truth is proven to provide effective treatment for short-term, post-surgical, and trauma-related pain. They're also approved for palliative end-of-life care and cancer pain. There's a danger, however. The danger is extremely real. It's extremely addictive. They're extremely addictive. One, they cause tolerance. Two, they cause drug withdrawal, pain, and it is painful. And three, there's the risk of death with opioids. I might say also, in addition to being a lawyer, I was a board-certified anesthesiologist for 42 years. I quit practicing about a year ago specifically to pursue this matter because it had been obvious in my practice as an anesthesiologist that so many of my patients during surgery and afterwards were becoming very intolerant to normal doses of morphine to make them reasonably pain-free. And I asked why, and the reason was why they hadn't shared that before was that they were embarrassed to say that they were on and have been on prescriptive opioids, so they built up a tolerance. The Vietnam War death rate every 11 years, that's what we're losing. The 2016 opioid OD death rates in the United States were 60,000. 2017 were 65,300 is the latest figure. My father's generation, who fought in World War II, 416,000 men and women died over 5 years of that war. The projected opioid death rate over the next 7 years will be 420,000 plus. The annual death rate is increasing, it's not decreasing. Today's war is on opioids. Who is it against? Big pharma companies, the pharmaceutical companies who I'll name in a minute, and their big three opioid distributors. There are 500,000 U.S. deaths that were recorded from 2001 to 2014, and the majority of these people were young people. In the prime of their life, anywhere from 18 to 50. Who would we be suing? It's a profit-driven national crisis from the pharmaceutical companies. There are 9 pharmaceutical companies up there: Purdue, Teva, Cephalon, Janssen, Johnson & Johnson, and the last 3 are their distributors who distribute 90% of the opioids in this country: AmerisourceBergen, McKesson, and Mallinckrodt. Opiate long-term effects. Well, they're intended for short-term use by the FDA, 60 days or preferably less than 30 days. To date, there have been absolutely no long-term academic studies, peer-reviewed, demonstrating either their safety or their effectiveness for long-term use. There is a legitimate use for people who have cancer, who at the end of life have breakthrough pain, who need palliative care, and certainly in hospital acute care. Almost always cause physical and mental impairments of such patients. Those patients, when they are on end-of-life steroids, or not steroids, narcotics in this case, have trouble walking, they fall, they break hips, they have trouble with the daily life. They can't feed themselves oftentimes because they can't think clearly. Risk in pregnancy. Women who take narcotics, and many who do, they have a neonatal abstinence syndrome. It's like the alcoholic fetal syndrome. Babies are born and they go through withdrawal because they're addicted in utero. The risk is always tolerance, not only to dose, but frequency of dose and the formulation of the product. The risk of hyperanalgesia response, where narcotics over a period of time actually will make the pain worse. The risk of abuse disorder, about 30%. The significant risk, about 12% of addiction if people are taking benzodiazepines with them. What's that? That's stress relievers such as Valium. What is the market value if you received 60 pills? Is $1 to $2 per milligram. Pills are usually 10 milligrams, so you have in your pocket there thousands of dollars of potential street drugs. What's the cause? What happened? Well, the Joint Commission on Accreditation of Healthcare Organizations, JACO, in the 1990s decided pain is the fifth vital sign. Of course, the first four are pulse, blood pressure, respiration rate, and temperature. The fifth one was vital signs. They said doctors who fail to treat adequately pain are violating the Hippocratic Oath. Literally, you're not treating that fifth vital sign. Social demands for immediate pain and stress relief. We all know it and see it. There's been a recent limited education in the last 20 years in medical schools. Unlike when I went to the University of Colorado in 1973 and graduated, we were instructed in no uncertain terms that narcotics were exactly for what they described, for acute pain relief from surgery or from trauma, or for people with cancer, and that they were addictive and highly unsafe. That's no longer been taught in medical schools the last 20 years, in part because of this fifth vital signs. The three recent U.S. wars, 3.6 million of our service members have come back, many of whom unfortunately have been harmed both physically and psychologically. So there's a demand for narcotics in the alternative to really having appropriate care at the Veterans Administration Hospital in many cases. The major U.S. recession in 2008 led to joblessness, family breakups, and personal financial losses. And again, the VA system is underfunded. We all know that. They are not able to help the millions of people who need it right now. Big Pharma recognized this, and they exploited it. And they exploited it through deceptive and fraudulent marketing. It was a great Harvard-level business MBA plan, but it is not a legitimate medical treatment plan, as you'll see. What did the manufacturers know when they started the blitz? This is the marketing blitz. In the late 1990s, the manufacturers started a marketing blitz regarding opioid safety and effectiveness to both doctors and the public. Big Pharma, who we call the 9 big manufacturers, knew that doctors relied upon their drug statements as being both truthful and guiding their treatment plans for the patients. Doctors actually read the brochures, attended the continuing medical education courses, listened to the thought leaders, and they said at this point, funded by Big Pharma, but unknown to doctors, that in fact the new formulations of narcotics, unlike the old, were safe, did not develop tolerance, and did not cause withdrawal. They used paid third parties as unaffiliated independent sources, and then they turned right around and market these independent sources as saying, well, you see, this study, which we financed, they didn't tell you that, shows that they're safe and effective and do not cause withdrawal. They hijacked continuing medical education conferences, professional organizations such as the American Academy of Pain Medicine, and professional journals. They used well-paid key opinion leaders, paid doctors in some cases who were highly thought of academically, unbeknownst to the rest of us, for their opinion. There were aggressive pharmaceutical sales reps to the MD office practices as well. Sorry, a little bit of coloration. Here's one example of mine, Purdue Pharmacy. Controlled and owned by one family, the Sackler family. Estimated market value $14 billion. Well, they sell OxyContin, which contributes 30% of their sales, which accounts for 35% of all painkillers sold in the United States. Where are they located? They're located in Stamford, Connecticut. That's their headquarters. They're exploited by deceptive and fraudulent marketing, but it was never a legitimate patient treatment plan. But an excellent business plan if you want to increase revenues and sales. It's hard to see, but here are just 3 examples of some of the you may or may not remember. OxyContin promotional video. I got my life back, Purdue Pharmacy. Pat, can you read that for
See
me?
if I can adjust that.
Or just read it for me, another TV ad.
I want to focus on my life, not my pain.
And this one needs no explanation, that's Rush Limbaugh. He's advertising and help him deal with the pain of living. And of course, we know Rush Limbaugh had to go into 90 days of drug rehab. OxyContin marketing campaign was a success by any measure, hugely successful. 2016 alone, $11 million for drug companies for opioids. So that 35% alone went to Purdue Pharmacy for OxyContin. Sales increased from $48 million of OxyContin in 1996 to $3.4 billion in 2016. Federal fines have not stopped this. OxyContin constitutes 30% of the entire market for all painkillers. 10 years ago, Purdue paid a fine of $643.5 million to the U.S. Department of Justice for violations regarding deceptive marketing. Their top 3 executives paid a collecting total of $34 million to escape imprisonment. At the same time, Purdue Frederick Company, again 10 years ago, entered a plea of guilty, this is important, to count 1 of an information felony charge that with the felony misbranding of OxyContin with the intent to defraud or mislead. They admitted to that. The plea agreement also said Purdue is pleading guilty as described because Purdue is in fact guilty. The Purdue business plan finds simply a cost of doing business as usual. OxyContin revenue, $3.44 billion in 2016. The estimated gross margin to Purdue is 50%. So half of that was profit. They avoided criminal charges by their executives paying massive fines. Federal and state fines against the corporation were not a deterrent to this marketing because the fines were relatively small, even though it's $640 million. You wouldn't think that, but in relation to what they were making, they were relatively small and simply cost of doing business. They even have had facility license suspensions all the way up here at Aurora, Colorado for 90 days. That hasn't stopped them because they simply redistributed products through other distributing facilities throughout the country until that suspension is lifted. It's big business. Not only do they make $9 billion on painkillers, they make an additional $8 or $9 billion on drugs to treat the complications of painkillers. Addiction treatment drugs like buprenorphine is a medication-assisted treatment drug to bring people slowly off withdrawal, $1.4 billion. Naloxone, who I think hopefully the sheriff department here carries naloxone. It's a reversal drug. It saves lives. They make $1.3 billion off naloxone to treat drug overdoses. Side effect drugs. One of the biggest side effects of drugs, narcotics, is constipation, chronic constipation. Among other things, they make $4.8 billion off that. Total $17 in 2015 because of this opioid-related problem. What did they know when they started to amplify the market? They knew, and we can prove that they knew, that they were too addictive and too debilitating for long-term use or chronic non-cancer pain lasting 2 months or longer. They knew that with prolonged use, the effectiveness of opioids wanes, diminishes, requiring an increase both in dosage and frequency to obtain the same level of pain relief. They knew that controlled studies regarding the safety and efficacy of opioids were limited to short-term use. By that I mean not longer than 90 days in managed settings such as a hospital or rehab center. 47% of patients on opioids longer than 30 days will become clinically addicted. What does that mean? After 30 days, basically half those patients will still be on opioids 1 year later. Doses will increase over time because of tolerance and the hyperalgesic response, meaning that the more you take, the more pain you have in many cases. They promoted a CME continuing education prescription myth of pseudo-addiction. That was that to doctors, if you have people who are coming to you for renewal prescriptions or higher doses, that's not manipulative behavior on their part. That's genuine problem that you need to treat because you're under-treated with narcotics. And the answer to that is give them more narcotics, pseudo-addiction they call it. The marketing myth of abuse-resistant drug formulations. OxyContin is nothing but oxycodone. We've known that about medicine for 100 years. They reformulated it in little spheres that have a slow release over 12 hours. You'll see that it doesn't work for 12 hours, it works for 6 to 8 hours. And you'll see also that it can be easily crushed, diluted with sterile water, and extracted through a cotton ball into a syringe, and you'll get 70% of the oxycodone out of that formulation. The marketing campaign success. Numbers speak for themselves. Nearly 500,000 people died from opiate overdoses. Oftentimes the best and the brightest, age 20 through 50. 145 Americans a year ago died every day. That will double by 2021 based on projections. There's a 21% increase in opioid dose in 2 years, from 2014 to 2016. Estimates are for 66,000 overdose deaths nationwide. That figure came to 66,300 as of January. The cause of the epidemic? The National Institutes of Health, NIH, recognized the opioid abuse problem and, quote, declared the pharmaceutical companies' aggressive marketing as a major cause. Big Pharma's big lie. False. Chronic use of opioids are non-addictive, safe, and effective. False. Wrong. Pain is sales mantra. Doesn't matter whether it's a migraine, or a sprained ankle, or chronic headaches, or breakthrough cancer. Pain is pain. What you need to relieve it are narcotics. The truth? Their business model is based upon addiction. There is no credible treatment model that they have advertised with regards to the appropriate use and indications for narcotics. It's based upon addiction. Deception and fraud in big pharma marketing. Well, before 2007, before all those fines, they went ahead and ignored the FDA requirements that any and all written, printed, and graphic material must adhere to and must be compliant with the FDA drug label. They didn't do that. And they were caught in a Purdue's case and other cases as well. They paid $650 million in fines in 2007. What did they do? Well, after 2007, they began marketing unbranded and therefore unregulated advertising for opioids in general. They did this towards doctors, to the public, etc. How do they do it? Good example, endopharmaceuticals. They have a drug formulation of Opana. On the left, you can see how they marketed through various advertising media in an unbranded manner. Quote, people who take opioids as prescribed usually do not become addicted. But when they had the brand, prior to 2007, had to market their branded Opana, same drug, but get beyond regulation, they said all patients treated with opioids require careful monitoring for signs of abuse and addiction, since use of opioid analgesic products carries the risk of addiction even under appropriate medical use. That's how they got around it. The impact of the opioid epidemic locally. Substantial increases in health care, primarily Medicaid and people who are unable to pay. Increases in social problems, drug abuse and diversion, child protection services. Criminal acts, and Pat Mikan can talk to you about that since he's a criminal defense attorney, has seen this up close and personal with the people he's had to represent. Have increased, placing further strain on criminal courts and Department of Family Services. Overcrowding of county jails with opioid-related crimes. Poverty and homelessness because people lose their jobs because of addiction. The families break up, the parents separate, oftentimes the children wind up in foster homes. There's a lack of revenue to the county in that they don't pay their property taxes, they don't pay sales tax. Increases in hepatitis both B and C and HIV transmission. Why? Because these people have to turn to heroin on the streets to gain their fix for avoiding withdrawal pain because they can no longer obtain prescription narcotics or they're too expensive. These were all impacted as a direct result of Big Pharma's marketing fraud and deceit. Where does Los Angeles stack up? Well, if you Google as I did drug profile for every county in Colorado, Los Angeles had the highest number of drug overdoses in 2015 per 100,000 population. Now, I know that 100,000, but based on that denominator, number one, my county, Pat's County, is number 3, right up the road. Pueblo County is number 2, right up the road. Colorado's opioid and heroin overdose deaths outnumbered murders in 2015. You can see as opioids on the bottom line increase in terms of prescription drug use, heroin's lockstep with it. Why? Because it's a cheaper alternative to treating the horrible withdrawal pain people go through when they can't get it. What was the opioid abuse in Los Angeles County? Well, Colorado lost 445 people in 2016. Los Angeles, again, had the highest overdose death rate in the state. Statistically, we know Los Angeles has at least 87 opioid-addicted citizens in this county. And addicted county citizens can come from all walks of life as lawyers, doctors, dentists, firefighters, teachers, almost everyone. And most of these people were otherwise good people who become victimized by prescription drugs, either from surgery or trauma. There were 27,000 prescriptions written in this county in 2016 for narcotics. Estimated financial cost, that's why we're here, in part. $1.6 million we know we can point for the county in terms of cost of opioid-related problems in past. We know that 150% of that figure is going forward at $2.4 million going forward. That does not include what the loss of revenue that employees, not hospitals, paying property taxes, sales tax, etc. So a total of $4 billion. Financial drain, again, very, very quick. Fire department, EMS services, family services, drug rehab, guardian ad litem, protective services, criminal court system diversion programs, all county funded in a large part. Cost, what can we recover for it? Recover funds for law enforcement, funds for EMS, prevention programs, education programs, help the court system, guardian ad litem systems, protective services, rehab, diversion programs, most importantly, public education prevention, and methadone and buprenorphine medical assisted treatment programs. Of course, the county would determine how these funds to be distributed in any recovery. How do we stop it? Well, I submit to you the only way to stop it is not through federal fines, not through having executives buying off the prison time, but to file massive lawsuits in the billions of dollars by right now 250 counties in this country. And only then will we get the attention of Big Pharma, where their business as usual is going to cost them more than they're willing to afford. So we're encouraging multi-district litigation lawsuits by Colorado counties, with Los Angeles being a leader. Huerfano County, just up the road, retained us a week ago to represent them in a lawsuit, which we'll be filing in 2 weeks. And U.S. recovery funds for treatment, education, diversion, opioid alternatives. And also to pay for social services, homeless housing, naloxone, and syringe program. I think it's very important to stop the HIV and hepatitis C and B epidemics. What are the legal causes? A plethora of them, but mostly negligence, intentional misrepresentation, and statutory claims under the Colorado Consumer Protection Fraud Act, as well as RICO claims, which means racketeering, influence, and corrupt organization claims. Colorado counties can file lawsuits to stop this nonsense. They can stop the predatory behavior of the pharmacies, they can claw back the pharmaceutical companies, they can claw back public funds, they can threaten Big Pharma with bankruptcy, and protect the health and safety of their citizens. Colorado counties can file lawsuits to control the rightful distribution of their monetary recovery, unlike the big tobacco master settlement funds in the 1990s. That didn't work under looked it up, $222 billion tobacco master settlement in 1999. Colorado in 2013-14 received $90 million. I cannot find any Colorado county that received direct funds that they had any independent county control over. It all went to the University of Colorado Health System, University of Colorado Building Trust Fund, HIV, AIDS drug treatment, early childhood literacy program. Of course, the Colorado Attorney General's office received $1 million as well. Who are we? Well, litigation team. Have him speak to you tomorrow, and the Skikos Crawford San Francisco firm, who we've worked with the last 10 years on similar deal litigation. Steve Skikos and his people. We're experienced trial lawyers, both in civil and criminal matters. We're experienced in multi-district litigation and class action in complex litigation, specifically in regards to pharmaceutical and medical product liability. And we have direct experience in opioid litigation. MDL, that's multi-district litigation. That was approved in December 14th. What does that mean? Well, that means regarding opiates in any U.S. federal district court will be transferred to Cleveland. And His Honor Dan A. Holster, who we've tried cases before, is functionally in U.S. federal district court, then removed within 60 days to Cleveland, as they all would. Our legal team is one of only 2 out-of-state law firms of the 3 law firm member liaison committee. What is that? That means we're on the liaison committee, which coordinates all litigation between Judge Holster and the executive committee and subcommittees. Our legal team appeared before Judge Holster in the General Electric gadolinium MDL. Huge, huge case. We saw that in 2012 and we never went to trial. I will tell you he's experienced, very knowledgeable, and very hardworking, but he expects the same from the case attorneys. I know you've been contacted by the Colorado Attorney General, as have all Colorado counties. I will tell you right now, the Colorado they will tell you the same cannot represent individual counties because there's a conflict of interest. Your damages are distinct and separate from the states. Therefore, there's an overlap and a conflict of interest. Now, in all fairness, Los Angeles County could elect to waive that conflict and have the Attorney General represent you. But I think at the risk of, I would submit, not obtaining your fair and proportional recovery, the risk to Los Angeles County if you should retain us? None. You outsource the risk, you outsource our resources. We provide the resources, both legal and financial. There are no litigation costs, no retainers, no attorney fees. The only upside potential is fees are strictly contingent upon results. If we don't recover anything, there's no costs, no fees, no retainers whatsoever that is owed by the county. If we obtain a monetary recovery, either in trial, which is unlikely, or in settlement, which I believe is likely, then 5% of that monetary recovery would pay for our legal fees, and we would agree to cap, and we have agreed to cap with other counties, our case expenses at 15%. So in other words, for every dollar that we obtain in recovery for Los Angeles County or any other Colorado county, that county is assured at least 60 cents in return at the end of the day. What's the benefit to filing an individual Los Angeles County case? You control litigation through our firm. Who's your point of contact? It's me. It's not a paralegal. It's not an outsourced firm somewhere else. It's Steve Oaks. I'm 2 hours away. There's a real opportunity, I believe, in monetary recovery of both past and future public funds that have been expended because of this crisis. If we were to obtain recovery, you control the funds. You decide where and when you spend those funds, not the Colorado AG. You would also be identified, along with Merkel at this point, as being a first position county litigation leader. You're going to lead the charge, if you will, of other counties. We're presenting to Blair County the day after tomorrow, El Paso County the week thereafter, and other counties. There's an opportunity to become a public thought leader and try to educate the public with regards to town meetings, town hall meetings regarding this crisis. We would help you set that up. We would help you set up webinars if that would be a vehicle through which you could perhaps educate the citizens of the county regards the dangers of the opioid epidemic. But most importantly, you need other counties to finally stop this nonsense. Big pharma and distributors, without a doubt, past, prior, admitted criminal behavior, admitted prior fraud and deceit in marketing. You're still willfully continuing your predatory contact through deceitful and fraudulent marketing. In my opinion, they're driven by unsurpassed greed. And I also feel they've shown a total lack of common decency when you think that they well know the havoc that has caused the public in terms of deaths and destruction of families. My final summary to you is to do nothing now as an individual county is most likely for Los Alamos to, one, recover little or nothing, and to stop nothing. So thank you. That concludes my presentation. I'd like to have Mr. Michael speak for a moment.
Sure. Turn the lights on.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity for us to present to you something that is very dear to our hearts and something we feel very strongly about. I grew up in a small town in northwest Arkansas, approximately 5,000 people. I moved here in 1982 to train for the '84 Olympics. I was on the U.S. judo team. And I did that for approximately 3 years. I just graduated from law school, but I decided I love Colorado so much that I wanted to make it my home. And I have a wonderful family, and I care a great deal for them. And I feel like I'm a part of this state, and I have practiced law for 36 years in Colorado, and I have driven my car up and down in this community. We have a big problem in this state, and every state in this country has a big problem. And it's the result of the fraud, the deceit, the misrepresentation of very powerful, profitable drug companies and drug teams. This, as the president of that organization, to be in the organization, it's the only criminal defense organization in the country you have to qualify to be in. You have to try to stringer. Based on my career as a lawyer. I also have a catastrophic plaintiff's personal injury practice. I have experienced the pain, the suffering, more than most from watching families who have gone through the criminal justice system as a result of the addiction to opioids in this state. What happens is a lot of times people will go in for a procedure, injury, maybe a wisdom teeth removal, and the doctors, based on the representations of the pharmaceutical companies and the ad campaigns, will represent that these are safe drugs to use, that these will assist you in the pain that you're experiencing. And those people do that, and they give them not 3 or 4 pills to get them through that crisis part of the pain, but they give them 30, 60 pills. And then, as Steve indicated, that's all it takes to become addicted. And then when the doctors or the dentists stop prescribing because they recognize that they don't need this anymore to address the pain, it's too late. These people are addicted. So what they do is they seek a cheaper alternative source. And that oftentimes is heroin. It's other street-related drugs. But that then perpetuates other problems that all of us in our communities have seen. And what I've seen is that the opioids don't discriminate based on sex, based on race, based on economic status. Doctors, lawyers, real estate people have come to me with an opioid-related addiction. I met with a young man's family. He was in jail. He was 33 years old. I say he's young because I'm 62. But 33 years old. He and his wife have 2 small children. He had a successful roofing company. He got addicted to opioids because he had a problem with addressing the pain when he had his wisdom teeth extracted. He then robbed 11 banks after he became addicted to heroin. Lost his job, lost his family, and now he's going to spend the better part of his life in a penitentiary and never get to see all the wonderful things that we as parents get to see with our children. So this is what we are dealing with. And Steve and I have made a commitment that no community, because that's our background, no community is too small for us to help. And that's why we're here today. You know, we've been all over this state in the small communities because oftentimes that's where the real problems are and the lack of funding and the lack of resources are. Because I've done criminal defense work, I know what criminals are and I know how they behave. And these pharmaceutical companies and these distributors are drug dealers. You know, we think of drug dealers as those people on the street that approach you in the back alley and say, hey, I've got something for you. These people are worse because they knew that they didn't have the authority to represent that these were safe drugs, that they were not help give others. You know, this is a continuing criminal enterprise that has been going on for some 17 years now. And the only way we're going to stop it is in their pocketbooks. That's all they understand. And you saw from this presentation that $650 million in fines didn't do it. It didn't have any effect. Because these companies that we will be suing have already, in some situations, pled guilty to felony counts, that's admissible in a civil prosecution. And that is something that's going to be very, very beneficial to us in the prosecution of them in this MDL. So we're going to have, in my opinion, in a town of 650,000 people. And we were presumably should have been, in fact, Colorado Springs is El Paso County now, the largest populated county in the state. And we got very little money as a result of the tobacco settlement. And we continue to get very little money because the politicians and the people in Denver and the Attorney General's office controls the distribution of that money. If this county is willing to participate and allow us to represent them, this county will receive the funds for services such as rehabilitation, emergency medical treatment and care, for the jails that are tremendously burdened and overcrowded, the drug courts, and the criminal justice system that has to address this. So that's what we're wanting to do, is to do something that has a direct and immediate impact on our communities, rather than let somebody else who may not ever come into this county to talk to you and understand what's going on here. And I think, one thing I want to do, and I don't want to embarrass Steve, but he is a fundamentally heartfelt individual who has literally taken his medical practice and put it aside so that he can devote his time, his attention to this prosecution of these individual companies. He has dedicated a very large part of his life now to doing that. He is one of the most knowledgeable anesthesiologists in the state. He's board certified. He knows more about this medicine and the addiction process than most. So we have, unlike any other law firm that are involved in this litigation, we are the only ones that have somebody with his qualifications and his skill level. I want to thank you again for allowing us to meet with you and just tell you we want to do what we can. And we will fight hard to stop this, to stop the devastation to this community and every other community that we have the opportunity and the privilege to represent. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank you both for coming, but I do have some questions for you. If you
Great.
have a few moments still. First question is for Christine. And I think I know the answer to this, but I want to make sure. If in fact we partake in this lawsuit and are awarded funding as a result of a victory in this lawsuit, will it affect the county and that funding coming in under Tabor? And how will it affect?
We're going to reverse it.
So we won't have
Which
no
is,
problems with it.
yes, any additional revenue, we actually keep.
Make sure that's cleared out of the way. Question I have for you folks is, what is expected of us on this county? What kind of, I know it says no added funding or no out-of-pocket expense. What type of homework are you going to be required of us on this county to put together for you to move forward if we participate?
Well, there may be a little bit of assistance and help with respect to statistical information and information that you may have with respect to the county budgets and how that's impacted and impacted some of the services in this community. We will have paralegal services and offer that support to assist in that, and we will allow them to come down and work with the county in gathering statistical data and information.
We have proprietary formulas that we can look at your budget wheel on the web, and I have. And I can derive with these formulas that we have structured a range of what we think is a reasonable expenditure in the past and going forward with regards to, say, sheriff deputies who expenses for naloxone, okay, EMS services, court diversion services, drug treatment products. So we have those ranges, but it's a very good question. Would this be free? No. To the extent that I'm going to have to interface with Ms. Frazier or whomever else she designates to actually have our people, and I oftentimes will be the one coming down here and meet, say, with your coroner or your sheriff, and that would be, they'd be on salary presumably, and they'd be spending time with me or my representatives as opposed to doing what they normally do. So the county, from that standpoint, would be paying for our forensic examinations to confirm what we already know. But for purposes of a lawsuit, we have to have not speculative damages, but we have to have firm, provable damages. And the only way to get that is from the various people that you were going to see. So what I'm estimating, I've told the other counties, I'm estimating in all fairness over a period of 2 years, probably a total of 100 hours of various people having to meet with me and help me go through, or our representatives help us go through to confirm those damages. So from that standpoint, it would not be totally free.
The next question I have for you is, number one, if there's, say, 5 or 10 counties that have signed on with you, I'm not sure the number is right now, but if and when this lawsuit is prevails as a victory, how would those funds be distributed? Would it be to just the counties that are participating in the law firm, or would it be statewide?
Well, of course, we represent only counties that, who have agreed to allow us to represent them. So usually the methodologies that is applied is that there's a global settlement with all the defendants, 13 in this case, and with all the plaintiffs, which in this case are 250 counties and 12 states, not including Colorado. At this point, we represent one county, Burkeville County. Okay, we have good reason to suspect there are other counties who we're presenting to them later this month. I've met with their administrators. They have a high interest, including Boulder, El Paso, Pueblo even. So we feel there'll be multiple counties in Colorado that will allow us to represent us. Once the global settlement is approved, and it may not be for all the defendants, it could be, there may be a holdout or two, so it'll be a global settlement, say, for 9 of the farms, or 7 of the pharmaceutical companies. Then that's proportionally made and we substantiate. So in this case, Los Angeles, I think we can whiteboard realistically about $4 million, both in past and future expenses. That may go up, may go down. I suspect it's going to go up, and I'll tell you why. That doesn't include the loss of revenues, but that again is somewhat speculative, and we'll have to work through that. In other words, what was your loss in sales tax? Have your sales tax revenues gone down? They have. Have the property tax collections gone down? They have. But we need to attribute that to opioid-related events. I think we can do that with our formulations. So to answer your questions, with regards, you'll get your proportional amount based upon the damages, the proven damages that we submit.
You mentioned the coroner. One expense I didn't see on the presentation was the coroner. Yes, I missed it. For body bags, toxicology reports, autopsy.
All of that, and I know a police officer here, perhaps in uniform, but maybe from the sheriff's office, but I'll tell you, here's the problem, say, in Dave Walters, our Arapahoe County. County of 650,000, I know Sheriff Walter pretty well, and he has had actually, in many cases, have his sheriff deputies pair up to investigate what they feel may be an opioid-related crime, be it a motor vehicle accident, or a mugging, or God forbid a shooting, because of the carfentanil they're seeing. Carfentanil is not 100 times as potent as morphine like fentanyl. It's 1,000 times as potent as morphine, milligram for milligram. What that means is that he's concerned about it. He has all the sheriff deputies glove up. I think that's standard practice. They all have nasal spray, naloxone, Narcan that reverses. He's concerned, it hasn't. His deputies is going to be investigating a crime scene, inadvertently get carfentanil, which we know is one of the illegal street drugs coming in, on his hand. That can be just right in the eye, the nose, and the mouth. It's all mucosally absorbed, and it can cause a fatal respiratory arrest within 3 minutes. So he's had his deputies instructed that in many cases they need to back each other up, and merely gloving up is not a okay. When you take the gloves off, you just can't take them off like this. You have to, like a doctor would, a surgeon, peel them back and put them in a disposable bag. So Colorado Springs, El Paso County, our Colorado Springs libraries have discovered syringes in the bathrooms. People are shooting up in the bathrooms. They have to be protected in terms of proper disposal technique, but more importantly, they have to have Narcan available in case they have an overdose. We've had several overdoses due to fatal in El Paso County Jail. Prisoners come in, people come in who are arrested in the book, and unbeknownst to the booking people at the time, the booking officers, they may have just ingested or taken an opioid, and then they collapse in the jail. We have to be able to respond and treat that. Sheriff Walters' department has had almost 10 saves, 9 saves, including one. This is tragic. This kind of, in my mind, focuses on the problem. A young couple with a 9-month baby boy in the back seat. They were pulled over on the side of the road on one of those busy streets on a Saturday night about 9 o'clock in Arapahoe County a year ago. His 2 deputies came upon them, thought it was suspicious, looked in, both mother and father were unconscious from narcotics. The baby boy was in his car seat crying. And they both administered Narcan and saved both of them. Thank goodness. That's the sort of problem we're dealing with on a regular basis, at least in Arapahoe County. It's frightening.
With the naloxone and Narcan, is it the same pharmaceutical that produced that?
Well, Narcan is a trade name for naloxone. Multiple
Okay.
pharmaceutical companies. In medicine, I graduated in 1973 from East Colorado Medical School. We knew Narcan back then. We used Narcan properly for IV reversal drugs for surgery at the end of the surgery or in the emergency room. We would have an occasional narcotic overdose event. But you saw that it's part of the $17 billion in revenues that the pharmaceutical companies are making. It's scandalous what they're doing. They're not only making money in the opioids, they're making almost as much money on the side effect drugs that treat this problem.
The back end.
The back end, thank you, that's really what I want to say.
Well, I just have one more question for you. Being a son of an attorney, you have lots of attorneys, and I've witnessed my father knowing one type to another, and I've never seen you two on television for that type of attorney, you know what I'm speaking of,
You won't.
as an ambulance type chaser, or lack of better words for it.
Sure.
In your heart of hearts, why is this so important to you as an attorney to represent these counties and these communities?
I can speak to that. I've had several friends, close friends of mine, who have lost children to overdoses as a result of addictions related to opioids that started out as a legitimate medical treatment. And that really hit home to me. And when Steve approached me to be involved in this, I gave it a lot of thought. And it's really going to change, in large part, my practice. I'm moving out of the business of defending people. I still have a mainstay in my practice, but I've seen friends that have also gotten addicted to this, doctors, to opioids, doctors, other lawyers that I've represented in drug courts, and had some success. So the benefits of services that help and assist people out of this problem are helpful, but it never really is getting to the source of the problem. And that's what we're trying to, when Steve approached me, this gave me the opportunity to be involved in something that actually addresses the source of the problem and goes after the source. We were just putting Band-Aids on things. And I can help somebody through the system, and I can get them to the right services and the right care providers. But I wasn't really doing anything to address the real problem.
And Pat and I talked about this, and Pat has 4 children in Colorado. They're a little bit older than mine. My 3 children, our 3 children are grown. But my wife and I have 8 grandchildren. 4 of them are just right up the road. Little boys, 7, 4, and 3, and a little girl who's 10. And there are other grandchildren, 2 of them are in Utah and 2 in Wyoming, which has a horrible problem as well. But I told Pat, for me, it's a legacy issue. I don't want to leave without saying that I did as much as I possibly could. I'm in a unique situation because of both my MD and JD. I understand medicine, I understand pharmacology. I have panels of experts throughout the country which would be using this litigation. We have whistleblowers, just like tobacco. We have discovered, significant court documents. It's like Pat said, the admissibility is certainly not an issue with regards to prior criminal conviction, which is very important in terms of civil trial. I would submit what's going to happen here is there are going to be 1 or 2 or 3 sentinel trials, in other words, bellwether trials. I don't know where they'll be. They won't be Colorado. They won't be Los Angeles County. The reason for that is the pharmaceutical companies, at least some of them, are going to want to establish value before they sell. Having said that, we know the state of Ohio, which next to New Mexico is one of the worst impacted states in the country, is already in settlement negotiations with Johnson & Johnson. And that's without no trial. And the state of Ohio filed a lawsuit on May 27th last year. But to answer your question, I'm fearful of our grandchildren and his children and every young person in southern Colorado in general, in the whole country. This has got to stop. It's taking people in the best part of their young lives and killing them.
And at what point do the doctors take responsibility for this? I mean, doctors are bright individuals. As far as pharmaceuticals, they're just filling the orders that are empty that need filled. At what point do you say, well, the doctors they knew in 2014, and therefore after 2014, it's not the pharmaceuticals, it's the doctors?
That's a good question. And mind you, this is a panoply of responsibility, starting with the drug manufacturers, their national distributors, pharmacies, and to the prescription writers, the healthcare providers, who they mostly doctors, can be a nurse practitioner now, in some state jurisdictions anyway. Doctors definitely have responsibility. In fact, Oregon actually sued 6 different doctors personally, but those were doctors who could be shown were taking significant kickbacks, tens of thousands of dollars a year from pharmaceutical companies to render opinions in a forum of continuing medical education for people like me, for anesthesiologists. At our American Society of Anesthesiology convention, I distinctly remember not these individuals, but the pharmaceutical companies saying, what you learned in medical school 40 years ago is no longer relevant. That we made some major breakthroughs, and now our narcotics, because of our new formulations with these old drugs, are now far safer, certainly more effective, and they're actually indicated for people who come and complain of migraine headaches. By the way, if you have a migraine headache and you go on narcotics, 35% of those people within 1 month will have worse headaches. It's not a curative for them. If you have back pain, I've had 3 back surgeries. I'm in some pain, but I don't take narcotics. You can get by with proper exercise and also the occasional aspirin, for goodness sakes. But the reason people get hooked on these is because the doctors are overprescribing. And the doctors are overprescribing. One, we were told that pain is a 5th vital sign, and if people report you to the board, or if you're on a website, Dr. Opes was very unsympathetic to my pain. He allowed me to be continued pain after my tooth extraction for 3 weeks. Well, doctors were very sensitive to that. And especially when the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services came out, along with JACO, who certifies your hospital and every hospital in this country, in this state, they came out and said that it is malpractice if a physician is treating or not treating pain. And we were led to believe, in this country, were led to believe through advertisements in our journals, through our education, through brochures that the drug reps would give us, that, well, gee, maybe these new formulations are unlike what I knew about 20, 30, 40 years ago. Maybe they are in fact safe. They have independent sources saying they're safe. Well, they didn't say these independent sources, for instance, American Foundation of Pain Medicine, the president was being paid by Purdue Pharmacy. They didn't say that these articles that appear to be academic articles and peer-reviewed were actually being funded by pharmaceutical manufacturers. They didn't say that to us. Why weren't we smart enough as doctors to ask those questions? Probably should. I'm basically a trusting person. And I was taught that for continuing medical education, I read my journals. I actually was instructed in such a way that I too started believing that narcotics now are safe. So, doctors are at fault. I will tell you, the Colorado Medical Society, of which I'm a past member, now I'm retired, I'm a member, has come out and identified the problem. They have, the CMS, the Colorado Medical Society, has taken position statements that physicians are responsible for going forward in terms of educating their patients in the proper use and prescription treatment plan. And that's something that's changed, and is changing. So, word's getting out, but it's not there yet.
One of the things that we will be insisting on is specific performance. We will be demanding and requiring certain minimum standards, as Steve was talking about, and expectations that with respect to educational information, these companies will be required to do to re-educate and to cut off the myths and the misrepresentations that they've been using to exploit the medical profession. In addition to that, we also believe that there will be public service announcements that will be a big part of any settlement, that will educate the public at large about the dangers. Southern Colorado Station about teenagers now ingesting Tide packets of liquid soap in doing that. It's crazy, some of the things that are going on. I can tell you that Steve indicated that things are changing. My son injured himself in a mountain bike accident in Aspen this summer, and the Aspen emergency room did not give him any oxy or did not give him a strong narcotic pain reliever. They prescribed him extra strength Tylenol, and he had to deal a little bit more with the pain. But the doctor spoke to us about that, and we were real pleased that she has that awareness and that sensitivity to the problem that these opioids can generate.
It's going to be quite the epidemic. For lack of time, gentlemen, I'd like to appreciate and thank you for the presentation. I think if we have any more questions moving forward, Ms. Frazier will be in contact with you, and we will confer as a board to our decision moving forward. So,
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it very much. I'm sorry we went over. I told Pete that, I won't be more than 20 minutes, and I think she could see that was probably not going to
I
happen.
have one more final question. How many other counties are you meeting with?
Well, no, I have met personally with county. I will tell you, I feel so strongly. I was in Creed last week. That's why I was here in Colorado Springs. 900 people. They're just as important in county to me as they are in Larimer County, who we're meeting with on Thursday. I met with them twice. They were on a formal presentation. I met with Pete for twice, I think, before I met with you all. But we're going around the state, and Huerfano is the first one to sign up for us. We know there are going to be other ones. I can't tell you which ones will be right now because we have yet to present in a public forum.
The recommendation that I have is just, I would try to set up a meeting with the board of each county right away.
Well, we've requested that. What I have found is there are gatekeepers in each county, usually the county administrator or the county attorney or both. So it's awfully difficult at times anyway to go straight to the Board of County Commissioners without going through that gatekeeper, and that just takes a meeting or two. But as I said, we've been riding around the state because in this end was so adversely impacted. I know I met the people in Del Norte, Rio Grande County. They're well aware of the problem too. And in fact, I'll have to tell you that the reason I'm here is because it's got to stop.
The Christmas holidays and New Year
Yeah,
makes it
that-
difficult
yeah.
getting something set up, but we're working on it.
Well, we appreciate you coming.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully, this will end some of the matters.
Thank you very much. Give me just a moment.
Yeah, we'll live through.
Okay, 5 minutes. Are you here with it? I should probably have got the last time.
No, sir, don't use it.
So there's a grant.
Here's my business card.
Okay, and
I don't know whether you can read it or not.
that's the, now still, so.
Okay, great.
See, my thing is, how do we get to the point of, because they're only doing it, without any, but does that have, do we have to prove that every single patient we start with painkiller, and now we have to deal with that heroin addiction? Yeah, they're big drugs.
I didn't even know you could get a prescription for
Yeah, it's nuts.
and those were gone in 10 days.
And that's why I said, because I've seen that same thing, and I've seen prescriptions of that with multiple times.
Yeah,
For
refill.
one person, and you're not supposed to mix this one with this one, and it's the same doctor, they know what they're on.
So there's also,
If this is in your way, I can put it down.
The cameras, it's, but yeah, it's probably a good idea. Let's do that.
Right. So what you said to me, that'd be So last November, they had a medic who was driving to the hospital and became he overdosed. Just transported him to be with overdose patient because he got there. Wow. And have you seen the picture of how much it takes to overdose? I have it on my phone. It just blew me away.
As far as,
The amount to the carfentanil, I know.
Oh, the original?
The carfentanil?
It's like,
That's
It's it looks like a grain of salt.
it's a narcotic. Yeah.
It's an elephant tranquilizer, and so they're cutting that with heroin.
Yeah.
so it's one that's coming from.
The carfentanil most of it's coming from China.
No, that one just hit locally.
Carfentanil is
Is that what?
yeah. And so we're waiting for it to come down. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it was pretty.
Somebody told me the other day that it just hit Pueblo. Where you need is, I'm getting Narcan a couple times last year.
Yeah, you can't get it.
So we could also work on getting that end goal, and that's not available for us.
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And it's easier
It's,
for.
and that's like,
somebody's to use.
it's $800 a dose. But they're willing to give it to us for free as long as we go through.
That's insane.
Yeah, but it's harder to get it needs a lot of
That's what the law they need, that doesn't make any sense.
No, but they said.
Because I had the same problem with
Can't pay
that.
for it. With the, people can't pay for their standing water at Safeway, which is usually about $30, they can get it in insurance. Then they can come to us and we can help them get the Envo one that they can stick themselves, or somebody else can be trained to stick them. Through companies. Which is crazy. It is. But we're still working.
We're only looking at half the problem, because the other half the problem is the heroin that's coming in as cheap. And this then goes back into areas that are very, very dark. Special ops people go to that amazing pop fields.
Right.
Yes.
That's how much heroin it takes to overdose.
This went back.
That's how much fentanyl. That's how much fentanyl it takes to put you in respiratory arrest.
And this is all.
That's the stuff that they're getting, and they're getting
Yeah.
medics and law enforcement.
So it's.
They're cutting heroin with this.
It really is.
With this stuff.
That's stuff that Michael Jackson did, right?
No, that was fentanyl, propofol. That's what they were doc that was, basically, if you go in for a colonoscopy or something like that, they're gonna give you propofol, knock you out. That's what they were giving them to sleep, and they overdosed them on it. So, wow, yeah.
So how much heroin is that?
That's pretty.
What's that amount?
I don't know, I don't know, it doesn't say how much it is, but it's just trying to give you an example of what it takes you to put.
It looks like it's the amount of salt in the
Exactly.
Send that to me. I would like to get that in the newspaper, right?
Okay.
So you're looking at this much heroin,
That's all.
this much fentanyl equals this much carbon. Is that what you're saying? Use it up?
If you, so yeah, the amount to put you in, to kill you, so if you stop breathing, and that's what narcotics do, is they make you stop breathing. They stop getting respiratory problem. So if you take, if that's what it is, how much heroin versus how much fentanyl and this carfentanil. So fentanyl's so much more powerful, it's just.
You guys need water over there? Just phone call in, down those cases, do I have to go to you?
No, you can bring it over. He needs
What's
to
your
come
email?
over,
WF,
one of the restrooms. When I go to the
KNO,
the stuff came from the car.
WO. Oh, we're gonna have to do something to do that. Take on one more case of the water.
There you go.
You already have. All right. So I'll put it in.
Good. Yeah, I just don't.
So you took that photograph?
I want to.
It's on the internet, I think it got sent, yeah, through, because we get a lot of, law enforcement, EMS websites, that they send stuff to. It's just, it's stuff we get, so as far as I know, it's not copyrighted on it, there's any copyright on it. But it's just kind of scary.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, that little, would you think a grain of salt, something they just had, telling me, they had a medic was driving to the hospital with an opioid overdose, and he started feeling woozy, and that's, he
Well,
had,
if you move forward with this group,
somehow wiped his eye or something, and he would, he overdosed.
funding. Or water money for this lawsuit.
That's gonna be better.
Departments are necessary.
Yeah, they have any on their glass. It's a hazmat.
We have,
It's a
I have some guys that are coming here, and this has been straight to
Road rage accident. They had our reports, they're going to some first shot.
we were just.
But it's,
I mean, just in our little town, that the Narcan used to be about $8. Now it's up almost 40.
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to say that before, 1 year.
He said
Was it
two,
Narcan 2 years?
and I thought that was.
That was actually January 1 of 16 to June 1 of 17.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a full 2 years.
And then you get 10 hours with you, 10 hours with Judy, 10 hours here, 10 hours there, but most of us
Yeah,
get straight.
$8,000, over 200 doses
Sheriff's
per
Department
annum
and private ambulance.
in a year and a half.
DHS. And how about all those little kids?
You wouldn't think that's possible. I didn't think.
Knocked out in the car.
That's serious. I mean, that's, wow.
200 doses.
And we, in this little area here,
I mean, we're running 2,000 calls a year, we build 1,500 transports, and of those,
It's not
500
very
are
difficult
with
to
an
launch
alarm.
or fact.
Well, they have recently enacted.
You could say 1,500 patients, 1,500 transports in a year and a
Then
half.
they have to, as soon
We
as
gave 200
physician has to use the people.
doses of Narcan.
Also, pharmacies are.
and that doesn't count the EMS
That's part of
time.
what is with you.
The ambulance, all of those. All of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, so if you respond, and somebody you live on the number, it's not how much money you spend on that one call.
The next step
Oh,
they're gonna do with physicians.
you figure
make sure that they do.
It costs
First,
us,
they're not caught up when they first got a Narcan along with it.
I mean, it costs
So
about
that whether they're
2
20
million in the
to
district
60 years
every
old,
year,
you know.
between, because it can be available 24/7.
Just as quick as
If
they
people would schedule an emergency, they could do it. So you got 24/7, plus you've got, vehicles that you have to
So if they teach
fuel and maintain, and vehicles are like 200 per
and
annum.
they have this advantage.
So you shoot somebody out the door, and they're out for 45 minutes, I'm talking about over $1,000.
Business stuff and the home shelter stuff.
I went to the
Yeah. basically, we get about 900 downloads, and what if we kick them 1,000? Possession income, most of our fee for service. Even when we take something like a Medicaid fees with the warranty.
Well, I know you've been pretty good.
We lose a ton of money every time.
And then a bit better, bit worse.
We get
No, even all the people in jail.
So we're making less than
Always the night buyers there
we're
first
making
times.
on a transfer of Medicaid. All kinds of Medicaid.
Do you want on the 27th? And visitors?
I don't know.
Think about it.
See you yet.
So,
I don't know. Christmas present. So the road has wrestling tournament this weekend. Burning road. There's nothing left to do. That was that.
well, there everyone visitors. This problem.
Because Gary's putting all that expense on it, I'm still charging the same share this year. I think it's kind of right, because we're paying fixing things. And on this part, it's not
Just that.
I'm retired, I'm just foster care.
Certified foster care. Small.
You were in the picture back then. I'll talk to you later. See you.
Yeah, you see me downstairs.
Item 25. F, consideration of resolution appointing a representative on South Central Council of Governments Executive Board, SCCOG for 2018.
I think you've done a good job representing the county on that. I don't see why we should change.
Okay?
You want me to read the resolution or is it necessary?
I think we have to read the resolution.
As we do this, you could think about, if you like that, to extend it, or just you want to take it year by year? Because every year-
I think we should do year by year because of the elections,
Okay.
and we have new board commissioners every couple of years or so.
Resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, appointing a representative of Los Angeles County to serve on South Central Council of Governments Executive Board for 2018-010. Whereas the South Central Council of Governments, aka SCCOG, was formed as an umbrella organization to assist entities in government within the Bi-County area of Los Angeles and Orange counties in the delivery of services to the citizens of the respective governmental entities within the two counties. And whereas the South Central COG is covered by an executive board comprised of one elected official from the governmental entities within the Bi-County region, including Los Angeles County, the city of Trinidad, Orange County, and the town of Kim. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners desires to designate its representative to serve on the executive board of the South Central Council of Governments for calendar year 2018, to provide direction, assist in the decision-making process, and to set policy for the delivery of various services to the local units of governments within the Bi-County region of Los Angeles and the Orange counties. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, that the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County does hereby appoint Commissioner Luis Lopez as the representative of Los Angeles County to serve as the Executive Board of South Central Council of Governments for calendar year 2018. Motion made and seconded and an affirmative vote. The resolution is adopted this 16th day of January 2018 by order of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado.
I make a motion to approve resolution 18-010, appointing Commissioner Luis Lopez II.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes. Appointing a primary and alternate representative to the Board of Directors of Otero Partners Incorporated.
The resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, appointing a primary representative and alternate representative of Los Angeles County to serve as Board of Directors of Otero Partners, Inc., governing business loan fund and revolving loan fund program for the Bi-County region for year 2018. Resolution number 18-011, whereas Otero County and Los Angeles County entered into an intergovernmental agreement for the purpose of establishing and operating a business loan fund and revolving loan fund program in an effort to stimulate new business development within their respective counties through the availability of low interest funds, and whereas the two counties utilize the authority set out in the IGA to create Otero Partners, Inc. for the purpose of administering the business loan fund and revolving loan fund program, and whereas Otero Partners, Inc. is governed by a board of directors comprised of a representative of Otero County and Los Angeles County and municipalities located within Otero County and Los Angeles County, and whereas it is necessary to annually designate primary representatives and alternate representatives of the participating units of government from within Otero County and Los Angeles County to serve on Otero Partners, Inc. Board of Directors for the purpose of setting policy and making decisions governing the operation of Otero Partners, Inc. as it administers the business loan fund and revolving loan fund serving the Bi-County area. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, that Commissioner Luis Lopez II is hereby designated as a primary representative to serve on the Board of Directors of Otero Partners, Inc. during calendar year 2018. County Administrator Priscilla Frazier is hereby designated as alternate representative to serve on the Board of Directors of Otero Partners during calendar year 2018. Upon motion made and seconded and an affirmative vote, this resolution was adopted the 16th day of January 2018 by order of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado.
This is just for the Board of Directors of the argument. We'll be fine with the administrator to tell us in the past.
Okay.
Because of the next one.
Make a motion to approve resolution 18-011.
I'll second. Roll call.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcher?
Yes.
Okay, item H, consideration of resolution making appointments to serve on the Bi-County Revolving Loan Fund and Business Loan Review Committee, and me being on the commissioners in Otero County and along with Ms. Danelle Berg. The recommendation in the past has always been a commissioner sitting on the board for the loan review, and there has to be two, there'd be an alternate and then there's a third. And the way they've always done it is a financial director and then a county administrator. And that's what they're recommending on this as of this morning. So commissioner would be on the loan review committee, and his backup would be the finance director of our county, and then the third member would be of the loan review committee. So I'm going to put my notes somewhere. Would be our county administrator. So we can make so as such. We can possibly move forward with this and those changes and read the resolution as.
The resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, making appointments to serve on the Bi-County Revolving Loan Fund and Business Loan Review Committee in accordance with the intergovernmental agreement with Otero County for calendar year 2018. Resolution number 18-012. Whereas revolving loan fund balance and business loan program jointly between the two counties. And whereas Los Angeles County and Otero County have developed a revolving loan program, RLF, for the Bi-County region and have contracted the services of the Southern Economic Development District SCED to promote and manage their RLF program. Set out the process means a manner in which interested businesses and individuals may seek business development loans through the RLF. And whereas Colorado law allows and encourages units of government within the state to cooperate and coordinate their efforts to provide programs such as a regional revolving loan fund program for the benefit of the general public within their respective jurisdictions. And whereas necessary that Los Angeles County has representation on the RLF committee to review and make recommendations on applications for loans from business owners located within Los Angeles County to establish new business, expand existing businesses, and or retain existing businesses within Los Angeles and Otero County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, that the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County does hereby appoint the following individuals to serve on the Bi-County Loan Review Committee as representatives of Los Angeles County. Finance Director Christy Coberly and County Administrator Priscilla Frazier for calendar year 2018.
No, we have to have the
Or does it
commissioner and the finance director, and then the administrator would be the alternate.
This is the alternate. So I think that was not the alternate on the previous.
That's how they like it to be from Otero Partners.
Okay, so let's do that again. The Board of County Commissioners does hereby appoint the following to serve on the Bi-County Loan Review Committee as Commissioner Luis Lopez.
Dean.
Oh,
This
Dean.
is the review.
Oh, you're the alternate. Okay, sorry.
It'd be Commissioner Dean Moulter
Dean Mulcher
and finance director, both of them will serve on that review committee.
and Finance Director Christy Coberly.
And we would be the alternate.
Alternate is County Administrator Priscilla Frazier. And given that we're making that change, and I failed to catch this before, but the board in an earlier meeting had determined not to pay dues to the Southern Colorado Economic Development District at SCED, and therefore SCED will not be part of this. Would you like to?
Yeah, we probably need to remove SCED because they're no longer in existence.
Yes, so I will just
Unit.
we'll skip that whereas on the changed version, so that would be one change. I would also suggest under the third, we would correct for within to be one word, and then the changes that you made, Commissioner, with Dean Mulcher and Christy Coberly and Thank you.
Good catch.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Next one will be very similar.
Just a moment. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcher?
Yeah.
I, consideration of a resolution appointing a representative to serve on the 3rd Judicial District Community Corrections Board.
Ready to read? A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, appointing a representative of Los Angeles County to serve on the 3rd Judicial District Community Corrections Board, serving Los Angeles County and Huerfano County for calendar year 2018. Resolution number 18-013. Whereas Los Angeles County and Huerfano County jointly created the 3rd Judicial District Community Corrections Board in accordance with Title 17, Article 27, CRS to improve the management and efficiency of operations of local community corrections program within the 3rd Judicial District, and whereas each county is permitted to designate a member of its Board of County Commissioners to serve as a representative of the county on the 3rd Judicial District Community Corrections Board, and whereas a vacancy exists in the representation of Los Angeles County on the 3rd Judicial District Community Corrections Board, and it is the desire of the Board of County Commissioners to fill that vacancy. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, that Commissioner Dean Mulcher is hereby designated as a representative of Los Angeles County to serve on the the 3rd Judicial District Community Corrections Board during calendar year 2018. On motion made and seconded, and affirmative vote, this resolution is adopted the 16th day of January 2018.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second
Commissioner Mulcher?
it. Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes. J, consideration of the resolution renewing Trinidad Ambulance District ambulance service license.
Okay.
Any thoughts or concerns?
I have a couple, one of the concerns I have, do you have an updated employee roster?
I'm sure we do. Do we have one?
Well, the only concern I have on this is there's 4 employees that their certifications are expired. Their certification dates are.
Yeah, probably when it was printed off. We do we try to, the license is for the calendar year, and so we try and have the inspections done October or November, which is that's when they were done. And now it's being considered, so if anybody has an expired license, they don't work. They actually come up in our system. The way our run reporting system works, they actually get a notice that they have 90 days until their license expires. And then you actually cannot sign on to our system if you haven't expired. If you haven't presented an up-to-date license to show us that you're eligible to work, then you cannot get on the system. You can't clock in.
Is Mr. Kolakowski still with you?
Yes.
His expired back in August.
Is that which one? Because there's ACLS,
The EMT, his EMT intermediate certification?
Yeah, I think that he's only had that for 2 years.
Yeah, he doesn't expire yet.
Yeah, it doesn't expire until next year. The state of Colorado, there's 2 things. There's a national registry, which you have to have in order to get a Colorado license, and then there's the state of Colorado license. The national registry gives you a 2-year certification period, and the state of Colorado gives you 3. I don't know why, but that's the way they've always done it. And so he only became an intermediate 2 years ago, so his state of Colorado certification is still valid, and he should be recertifying his national registry. Has to be done by March 31st of this year, I believe. So I don't know if that's something that printed in error on there, but I do know when he got his intermediate that he's just coming up on 2 years now.
It appears that if he would have got it on the August 7th, 2017, then it would be effective through 2019, but maybe this didn't get updated. Is that what you're saying?
Right, and the National Registry has a common expiration date, so anytime you get certified, they give you 2 years, and it'll be 2 years plus, it'll go on to March 31st. So if you took your National Registry this year, it would be valid until March 31st. If you took it today, it would be valid until March 31st of 2020. So they give you those extra months. It's a common, everybody has to turn everything in at the same time.
When you filled out the application, was this a mistake on the date? Because it's dated through 12/13/2017, but on the backside, is that an issue for us, Pete, or is that just when you apply for the licensing? It's on page 1?
Page 1.
I'm new, Dan. So
Nothing changes. The address is the same, so in all 5 years that I've been here, we've pretty much applications, the VIN numbers, all that stuff, and we've changed the date, so it's possible that maybe one didn't get the date changed on them, and that's another thing that I think probably might need to be addressed is the inspection procedure. It hasn't been updated in a while, so some things they're asking for really don't pertain to the ambulances anymore. So there's things that have been taken off, so we'll put them on there so they can see them, but they're really not necessary. So I'd be a direction to the Department of Health that they take a look at their inspection criteria and maybe update those to current standards.
Does the ambulance district have a member of the county on your board or a representative to attend your meetings regularly?
Yeah.
So that way, like EMS, does him go to your meetings, emergency management, and attend those things, or?
No.
That way we'd be more in the loop, I think.
Meetings aren't attended.
Are they open session?
They're open session. Mr. Murphy does them live on.
Maybe I started attending.
Yeah.
I think their board members are elected.
Right.
Because they're a special district. And this license, I would know that Dixie did look at it and say it was all right. I think that what you'll note is if you look on page 1, where it had the date of 12/13/17, they were in process of preparing this document. And then if you look on page 5, it says January 3rd, 2018, date of signature. And then we're approving the license, which would be, if we approve it, would be today.
And also, was it signed by Mr. Monahan? Daniel G.
Daniel A.
Looks like a G.
But yeah, I do think that that does raise one question with regard to that
Kowalski on the roster, and I think maybe that might just have to be updated.
Yeah, we can confirm that. Yeah.
There's, yeah, and I mean, if you reviewed it, you got, and I know Robert, Vukovic, Mr. Condon, and Mr. Moreno.
It just stands out as being
Right. Yeah, these would have been, because they were all prior to today, so they were all redone. So, we can confirm these, and then I'll just maybe send copies of their certification to the county administrator, so you guys.
And I don't know if it matters or not on the ambulance or the vehicle inspections for the ambulance district representative, Mr. Kolakowski was signed on 2 of them after his expiration. Does that matter at all?
Well, he wasn't expired at the time that the inspection was actually done in November.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this August one was showing, because unless it was just pulled from last year.
I don't know how far about dated, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can go back in, but they're all, it would be, I don't know what he's showing as expired. I think that's probably his national registry, but his Colorado license, he has 2 years, and it's a 3-year license. So we'll go back, and we have everything on file, so we can just, we'll scan it, and we'll send it to the county administrator, so you can see that everything is current.
Provide service in Los Angeles County?
Yes, yeah, the state doesn't get involved in that. The state allows the counties are the licensing agencies for ambulance services throughout the state.
So last year when we did this, I probably was a deer in the headlights with everything that was going on for the county. My first meeting.
Well, and we try and give it, like I said, last year, we did the inspection in October, and it still came up in January, because I know in January, I mean, with budgets and everything that's it, we try and get it to you early, so that maybe it precedes all the other stuff that you've got to do, so that we can have it by January 1st, and that's never happened, but we keep trying. Because the license is for the calendar year. So,
Yeah.
And maybe what we could do, and even if it meant an increase in fees to the health department, to do a 2-year licensure, so we don't have to go through this every year, and since certifications are for 3 years, maybe that would be, make more sense.
And this being my first year, I have more questions, because I don't know what's.
Sure.
You know, other thing is on some of the medical equipment and supplies and stuff. How often, so once this inspection is done and there's supposed to be two of something or another and one, and there's only one, if you guys go through this inspection sheet and then just say, yeah, okay, or it could have been used that day during.
It could have been used that day because they're pulling in off the road. And sometimes, some of the vehicles that get inspected are actually, like, we have one in Stonewall, we have one in Honey, we have one in Spanish Peak. So those get inspected, and what we try to do is just reset off our ambulance so when we come back, we can do that. But sometimes if they wait until somebody comes in and just brings in, they kind of keep a running track of stuff. They go in our supply room and we just give them a whole lot of stuff to take and supply their own ambulances. But anything that they find that's missing at the time gets replaced at the time. So if they're at our station and the vehicle's at the station or there's somebody there with them, we actually restock that at the time. But again, some of the things that they're counting are just, they're not really pertinent to the things that we're doing today. And it seems like it's kind of evolved from probably the 70s or 80s. And they just added things but didn't remove anything, any of the old things that are kind of not as critical anymore. So, and there's really no, it's not the state. The state can, the state will regulate the scope of practice as to what a paramedic, what medications they can give and what an EMT can do. But the county is the one that comes up with the actual vehicle thing. So I think it would be a great idea to maybe sit down and revisit what should be on an inspection sheet, what's been outdated, and what maybe should be on there that's not being checked at this time.
And more accountability for protecting guys too.
Right. Well, I mean, we do a daily inspection sheet, so this is a once-a-year thing that they come in and do, but all our supplies, every day a crew comes in, and so every day you can look and you can see that a crew went through everything on that vehicle to make sure that everything was on there, and that's how we make to make sure.
Value what you guys do. Your department, how things are going. In the hospital.
Oh, sure.
That'd be great.
I think that would be great.
Because it gives us more transparency with our community. We're working better with our city, with our county, with our sheriff's department. It'd be nice to work with you guys closer. And maybe schedule in every couple months or something to come in. And this is the state of.
I think that's a great idea. I'd love to do a quarterly report for you guys.
I'm glad you're here today to answer a question.
And you had to sit for a few hours, so thank you.
Right. You probably heard more than what you wanted.
Well, but that was a great presentation. I mean, it affects us. And we could kind of talk during the break, but the opioid thing affects us. I know we just had a round table meeting with the sheriff's office in the city, and they would like to do some highway interdiction, and that's been proven to be pretty effective. So if there's some way funds can be found to do this highway interdiction thing, that we got the K-9 unit, there's your route from Juarez coming up north. If we can stop it on that highway before it gets to our residents and to the people up north, what a difference that would make. So, I mean, there's a lot of ideas out there. Of course, you can't do anything for free, but at least it's nice to see that there's people addressing it because it is having an impact.
Well, like you mentioned, the $8,000 that you guys have used in Narcan so far, the public really doesn't see that. And if it was to be brought before the board, we have media here regular basis, and I think that can be transparent
Sure.
to our community. So,
I mean, it's important. I mean, the public doesn't understand that. Well, 3:30 this morning, we were taking somebody up to Denver, well, just south of Denver. So, I mean, those are things, a third of our transport volume comes out of the hospital. So, we do a lot of.
So that would help open the eyes to the community members that are blind to it.
Sure.
Well, I don't see any other issues other than possibly your submitting the documents.
Yeah, could we just get an updated employee list?
Absolutely, yeah.
And
staying on based on
possibly maybe the inspection.
Yeah, we'll do that this afternoon.
and based on that, I don't see any upon contingency of receiving those.
Yeah, Yeah, I think that the report was satisfactory as done, but as a housekeeping matter, what we are noticing is that there are things that change. And so if you notice that on the Los Angeles County, the form for our health department, in some advanced life support, there's a whole X, and then there's X's.
What page are you on?
It's actually right behind the vehicle permitting one. I don't know. It's midway, almost at the end. But it's what's inside the vehicles. I noted that there were a couple of areas where they're exiting out whole sections like advanced life support. And when they do that, and then on another one, I noticed that we don't do this anymore and that kind of stuff. And like if you go past, turn the page a couple pages, it goes to pharmaceutical agents and it identifies basic life support, aspirin, oral glucose, EE pin, and it's carry. Now, if that's a come off the form, then perhaps it should come off the form so that then it doesn't raise these questions. And that would be something that is, I call housekeeping matters.
That's what that's the county. County does they're the ones that bring the forms and do the inspection. We call them and we say, hey, we need to have it done, and they come over
To the health department?
And that's the health department,
right? And, you know, we're doing things, there's things on there that aren't checked, such as, we're a little more advanced, even though we're in this rural county. My firm belief since I started here is that living in the county, living outside the city shouldn't be a death sentence just because you have a medical emergency. So we did things like, we got a waiver from the state to do, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, we had a fire up in Allendale, pretty bad house fire. And so we were concerned because we had a patient that had an airway obstruction. When you get a burn like that, you breathe in those superheated gases, your throat will start to swell shut. And obviously someone's conscious, you can't put a tube down their throat, and then eventually that closes and then it's too late. So we carry drugs where we can paralyze you, and we can put that tube in you and breathe for you so that you don't, that's an advanced skill that most paramedics in the state do not do. We're doing it here. We found a piece of equipment because we do go to national conferences that's called an iGel, and we brought it to Colorado. Our medical director, who's also the medical director for the Southern Colorado RETAC, he looked at this. I thought it was a pretty good tool because it really scoped in somebody and looked at their airway and make sure that that tube's going in the trachea. It alleviates that, and it's kind of a blind procedure, but it provides for secure airway. We brought that back to Colorado, and then a year later, I was at the Northwest RETAC meeting, and they were talking about this device that came into the state that's now starting to get real popular. And now it's throughout the state that people are using this iGel, and that was because we brought it to the state. So people may see us as a little town, but the ambulance district has made some tremendous, we're doing things that you don't see in some big cities. So that's why I think a report would be great, because I think people need to know that if they go to Denver, they're not going to get any better care than they get here. They may even get more advanced care here. We're doing things.
Contrary to popular belief.
Contrary to popular belief, exactly. But I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years, and this service, and when I say this, I mean, the people I'm working with, there's people who have been working there a long time, have a ton of experience, and they're a great group of folks, and they always want to learn. So it's when you have people that continually want to practice their skills and want to learn, well, you just can't go wrong. And now we have a deputy chief that came to us from Valencia College in Orlando, where she was the program director for the EMS division there, where they had 700 students a year. And she's now here in Trinidad. She's a nurse. So she actually did a transport the other day out of the hospital. We've never had a nurse to do. The hospital can't send nurses. They're short-staffed. Well, we have to have a nurse so we can send someone. That goes beyond what a paramedic can do. So now, if she's available, we've got a nurse that can do those kinds of transports. And the level of training that we're getting is pretty phenomenal. We just concluded our EMT class at the end of December, and so far 5 people have taken National Registry, and we've had 5 passes on the first try. So we're getting more and more, we're growing our own. It's hard to recruit people here from outside, so we're just kind of turning it around. And we're creating our own EMTs. We're going to have our own paramedic class where we're taking these. We did our own intermediate class, which is why we have people like Darren Kolakowski and Angie Zamora, and those people are now all advanced life support providers. The skill set is minute difference to being a paramedic, but we're going to give them a bridge class to bring them up to paramedic, and then we're actually going to hold a paramedic class here so that we can get these people. We want advanced life support providers so that even out in the county, when Darren is out with Tony and he's running out there, he's got advanced life support equipment and he can provide advanced life support out there. So that's our goal.
So that's why some forms are filled out under the advanced life support inspection.
And some of them, because they're basic life support, so when they go out to Honey, that vehicle out there is a basic life support vehicle, so then they're going to cross out all the ALS stuff. So technically, and the only reason I know about this is having been a bureaucrat myself for the state of Florida, where I did investigations and inspections. I had two different forms. You had a basic life support and advanced life support form, and those had to be updated fairly regularly. So I just think it's something that we're the only service in town. They only inspect us. It only happens once a year. So I don't think it's on the front burner for them, but I think it's time we probably take a look at those things. Maybe go to a 2-year license and then update those forms so that they're more meaningful when they do the inspection.
I'm glad you're here to answer some of this stuff because it's really good insight.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to make a comment on, contrary to popular belief, that your vehicles, after I've seen these reports, are the best and the brightest, and a lot of these have been in use for 9, 10, 12 years. So your fleet is not brand new as
they're well maintained, and you notice those dark blue ones. It's said in our service plan that we had to have a plan for vehicle replacement. And when I got here, I didn't really see one. So what we decided to do is we purchased from a manufacturer where, yes, the cost of the vehicle, as you first get it, is more expensive, but they need to be, the chassis need to be replaced. So we will no longer be going to the state after, we've got another grant for vehicle, which we will have probably in July, and we're going to try and get at least one more, so we have 4 first out vehicles. We will not be asking the state for any more grant funds for ambulances. It will be of an ambulance. And then the company we went with will recertify. They give you a 20-year warranty on that module that's on the back. That box, if you get a chance, stop by, we'll show you. You can tell that there's somebody with OCD that wires these things. Because they put the electrical compartments where in most ambulances they're kind of behind that little jump seat on the inside, which makes them very difficult to work on. The electrical panels on these are on the outside, and it's a great big panel. When you open it up, you see every wire going to every relay, and it just, whoever did that, they took a little pride in what they were doing. And so they do it that way so that when they re-chassis it, they're just basically undoing the stuff from that panel, and then when they put it on the new chassis, they hook everything back up to where it goes. They know what works like. And they do a refurbish on the box itself, but amazingly enough, those white ambulances that you see have a lot of wood in them, which you wouldn't think. They look like they're metal boxes, but that's really a piece of sheet metal glued to plywood pretty much on the outside. The new boxes have no wood. Those dark blue ambulances are all aluminum. There's over 1,000 feet of welding in every one of those. So those are going to last. And that's why I bought them, because you may have noticed that some of the roads in this county are not paved, and we don't get to pick where we go, and so they get bounced around a little bit, and you start seeing with those other boxes where things start moving and coming loose. That just does not happen with these ambulances. So the long-term vision is that we remount the box on a chassis, lower the cost of having to purchase an ambulance in half by just having to purchase a chassis and having it put on there, and that's our long-term goal. So Yeah, we've got some state-of-the-art ambulances, and if you didn't know, we're concerned about when we get pediatric patients. We had one just the other day that went up to Memorial. But when we get kids that are old enough to watch TV, they're in an ambulance, it's scary. There's actually a TV and a DVD player in there, so they can sit on the stretcher and watch cartoons or something while they're being transported. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at for the people here, is to try and, if you're calling us, it's not a good day, and we just want to try and make it the best day it can be.
And that's why I like the report. This is stuff that people don't know. I don't feel knew that, but and feel a little more comfortable saying my kid in your ambulance now with the cartoons.
I don't say this because I run the place, because if there were issues, I'd be here telling you, hey, we need to fix these issues. But that service is a shining star in this county. You've got paramedics that have a ton of experience. They've all got advanced cardiac life support from the American Heart Association. Matter of fact, the new deputy chief is faculty for American Heart. She's also faculty for National Registry, so she's actually the person that they send a test to. So she's kind of a big deal. We're kind of a big deal here. But you know, we don't toot our own horns. We do get people that thank us for things they've done on the Facebook page. We occasionally get somebody that goes on there and says, thanks for being there for me. And we like that. But you know, mostly it's one of those jobs where you go and you do it, and you do it because you want to take care of people, and that's what we do.
Great. Thank you, Dan,
All
for
right.
your services.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the knowledge.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And we look forward to some quarterly.
Okay.
Having said all that,
Do you have to read the resolution?
I think we should read the resolution.
A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, renewing the Trinidad Ambulance District Transit.
Let me interrupt you real quick. The only change I have, just so you know, is just a spelling correction under the under the fourth whereas, where it says seeking authorization to provide, you need to add an E at the end of that.
But it looks
Other than that, that's
provide, got it, okay. Okay.
Since he's shaved, he's like the new beginning man.
You know those OCD wiring beats?
Yeah.
Well, it helps because, it helps. Okay, so. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I was at, the Trinidad Ambulance District ambulance service license, thereby allowing Trinidad TAD to provide ambulance services support within Los Angeles County during calendar year 2018, Resolution 18-014. Whereas the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, the Health Facilities and Emergency Medical Services Division, and the State Board of Health has enacted rules pertaining to administration of emergency service operation within each respective county within Colorado, and whereas in July 2006, the Board of Commissioners adopted rules and regulations establishing minimum standards for the provision of ambulance service within Los Angeles County in conformance with said state agency rules and regulations. And whereas an ambulance service license was initially issued to the Trinidad Ambulance District in December 2006 and has been renewed annually through 2017, authorizing it to operate an ambulance service in Los Angeles County in compliance with the Los Angeles County Ambulance Service Regulations and Licensing Procedures Manual. And whereas the Trinidad Ambulance District has filed an application requesting renewal of its 2017 license, again seeking authorization to provide ambulance service within Los Angeles County for calendar year 2018. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, that 1, the board hereby authorizes the renewal of the ambulance service license issued to the Trinidad Ambulance District for the provision of ambulance service within Los Angeles County for calendar year 2018 in conformance with the rules, regulations, and standards adopted by Los Angeles County. A motion made and seconded and approved vote the resolution adopted this 16th day of January by order of the Board of County Commissioners, Los Angeles County, Colorado.
Anything else? Make motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Walter?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, guys.
We'll start that March
For your patience.
for quarterly.
Yes, that'd be
Okay,
good. Just get with Pete and that'd be awesome.
Okay.
And I always wondered where the accent came from, not in Florida.
No, not really.
No.
Originally from New York City.
I was gonna say, it doesn't sound like.
You don't spread that around a lot, right? That's where the Anthony came from, the A.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right.
Thank you for what you do.
I have an accent?
Okay, consideration of 360 Energy engineering payment.
Right, I apologize, just a moment. This is a payment, Christie had hoped that they would have dated it, in December, but, actually, I don't see a date.
2/8/2017.
Oh, okay, yes. This is by contract that in the event that we needed to pay for design of 360. And so we have agreed to go ahead and make the payment of $2,000 for this company. And you will see the page, second page, that is the services agreement that was signed almost a year ago, in February of 2017.
You know, I read this, the only issue I have with this is it says it shall be made within 30 days of the decision of the client not to move forward with the turnkey project. Is that going to affect anything?
It is dated December 20th on the top of the page, the first page.
No, I think, Dean, that's precisely why we're paying the 2,000.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, it is dated in December
Yeah, yes, it is.
2017. That will be
I
something.
mean, I knew this was probably the whole thing, but I just wanted to check with it. Thank you.
I'd like to further discuss with council before we go ahead with this to verify. It's been a couple months since we've touched on it, I believe. So we can come back out and I think we can discuss this in executive session. I'd like to table this.
Okay.
To confer with council. Have a second?
I'll make a motion to table this. Yes. Yes, I'll even third it.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, Commissioner Walter?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
It's only 12:15. Okay, so,
Now, Board of Health Administration appointment.
So
Yes.
we
Oh, yes.
have a vacancy
we
on
have, and
that board. And,
item L, and let me read quickly from Kim Gonzalez. She indicated that she has spoken with Ms. Backrack about her term ending in 2018. 2017 maybe. And she has a letter asking that she be extended or to be reappointed. And so,
you know, I'm on the board of health here, and I've sat now a few meetings with Ms. Baccarat. She's a good asset to that board. She's very knowledgeable. She's a health care provider on that board. And so I'm going to recommend that she get reappointed to that board.
Commissioner, is the resolution?
Okay. A resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, appointing a representative of Los Angeles County to the Los Angeles Orfano County's District Health Department Board of Directors. Resolution number 18-015. Los Angeles County, in cooperation with Orfano County, jointly created the Los Angeles Orfano County's District Health Department for the purpose of delivering public health services to citizens within the Bi-County District, and the public, whereas the Public Health Improvement Act of Colorado requires the District Health Department be comprised of persons appointed by the designated appointing authority of the respective boards of county commissioners of the counties comprising the District Health Department, and such district health is charged with the responsibility of setting policy, making decisions, and ensuring the delivery of essential public health services within the district. And whereas Los Angeles County, in accordance with the agreement entered into with Orfano County, is entitled to make 3 appointments to the 5-member District Health Board of Directors. And whereas Commissioner Dean Walter has been designated as the appointing authority for Los Angeles County to fill vacancies on the District Health Board following consultation with his fellow county commissioners to consider persons to be selected to serve on the District Health Board of Directors. And whereas 1 vacancy exists on the Los Angeles Orfano County District Health Board, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County, Colorado, that the Board of County Commissioners hereby endorses the recommendation of Commissioner Dean Mulcher as appointing authority for Los Angeles County of the appointment of Sherry Backrack with term to extend from the date of this appointment until September 2022. On motion made and seconded and an affirmative vote, this resolution is adopted the 16th day of January 2018 by order of Board of County Commissioners of Los Angeles County.
Only question I have being that this is a 4-year appointment, correct?
Yeah.
Well, with that said, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Walter
Yes.
and Commissioner Goldberg.
Yes. Financial matters. Consideration of bills and payroll for the first half of January 2018.
Okay. So you have before you the payroll and bills that Christie has provided, and you'll see that the payroll for the January 15th payroll was $139,478. I'm sorry, those were the, and she has noted for your review 2 items, cell phone reimbursement for the $50 each for the land use building inspector and the noxious weed oil and gas inspector, noxious weed, and here's all I have. So, moving on, the salaries by person, and then the payroll distribution register, and in true Christie fashion, you will see that she's identified those same 2 items on page 6 as phone reimbursement, and they're highlighted in yellow to read. And
Since she's not here, I can't talk bad about her, but she is very efficient.
she's numbered the pages.
Yes.
And I think under the check register for of interest, she's indicated that we're paying Colorado Foundation for the Public Land Use, and that this is on page 12, and Colorado counties, the dues, I'm sorry, for Division of Fire Prevention, $11,560. And the
liability insurance for CTSI. Workers' comp at a whopping $195,000. And we paid for noxious weeds, $6,346. Those are high ticket items. For a total of bill payment $431,814.71 on page 13. That's the bills and payroll for Los Angeles County.
I'm good. Should I make a motion to approve?
Second?
Commissioner Lopez
Yes.
and Commissioner Lopez.
Yes, ma'am.
Acting in capacity of the Board of Human Services, the consideration of bills for the first half of January 2018.
And I know that you did have, see them and approve them prior, so we just have to make it official.
I reviewed them also, and I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Okay. Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Moss.
Okay, executive session, do you guys care to have a lunch?
Well, you know, I'm watching my figure.
So we'll be back here at 1:15 to go into executive session. That'll be enough time for me?
Okay, would you like to read the entry into executive session prior to leaving, and we'll just go straight in?
Okay, yes, executive session, the board will meet in executive session under CRS 24-6-402-4B, conferring with the county attorney for purposes of receiving legal advice specific to your questions, and CRS 24-60402-4F, personnel matters not involving any specific employees who have requested decision of the matter in open session. Any member of this body or an elected official or personnel policies that do not require the discussion of matters personal to particular employees. CRS 24-6-402-4C, determining positions relevant to matters that will be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations.
Motion. I'll make a motion to go into executive session, or to recess, and go into this session after recess.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Lopez? Commissioner Walsh?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And we will come back at what time?
1:15?
1:15?
Get about 45 minutes.
Do you guys think you're going to vote on anything? Come out and vote? Okay.